Welcome back to the Comics Aficionados live on Think and Critical YouTube. We are still waiting for a couple of people who have not been able to make it. Doc and Aaron Sparrow are AWOL, but we do have some fantastic people and fantastic things to talk about today on a fantastic Halloween weekend. First up, returning to the channel, I believe this is your third or fourth appearance, Nander Fox Schaefer. How you doing, Nander?
Oh, I'm doing great, Wes. Yeah, I'm always excited to be here and to talk comics and be here on a Saturday morning. So thank you for having me.
Are you a Chiefs fan? Because you live in Missouri. Are you excited to talk about football?
You know, not as.
Oh no,
not really. You know, I loved them growing up, and I was a huge sports guy growing up as a kid, and I would go to games and that. But comics kind of took over my life, so I kind of put that behind me. But
comics took over my life, but I still have a slice dedicated to football every week.
Yeah, I'm more of a baseball Cardinals. I love the Cardinals, so yeah.
Well, you and my dad would get along. I'm more of a Royals fan.
Yes,
I normally lose out in that competition, but he's a lifelong Cardinals guy. So you've got a project live on Kickstarter right now. What's going on with that?
I sure do. Yeah. So right now we have 20 days left. It is my stab at the sci-fi fantasy genre. It's called The Fabled Offering, and it is a mature one-shot, and it is about a lone princess on a quest to save herself from her past traumas. And if you're a fan of Dune, Star Wars, Lord of the Rings, Xena.
About Legend.
Yes, Legend. Very much so. I love Legend. Red Sonja. Like, it's kind of an amalgamation of everything I love about sci-fi and fantasy into one complete story. So if you have always been interested in like the kind of comics that I write, or you don't want to get kind of hung up on a large series or try to like follow a large series, this is like the perfect book for you, because you get a complete story written by me. And if, like I said, if you love like the sci-fi fantasy genres and you kind of want something a little more gritty, a little more kind of out there, alien, this book is for you. So I'm really excited about it. It's been my most successful launch to date, and I can't wait to share this with everyone because it's a really exciting book.
Are you willing to share this with Jayhawkers?
Yes,
oh,
very much so.
Me, I would be like, Jayhawkers are off limits. If you're from Kansas, don't want nothing to do with you. For those who don't know, Missouri and Kansas are longtime rivals, not even just on the football field, but going back to like the Civil War. There was raids on both sides and all that kind of stuff. We get back into the history of it. Also returning, we do have Gabe from Comical Opinions. It's been a long time since we've seen you, Gabe. What happened?
I've been here making reviews, writing stuff
I've invited you a couple times, and you're always like, I got plans this weekend.
This is true. Okay, no, I got to take that back. This is true. Yeah. Just busy. Reviews, more reviews, keeping up with the news that's fit to print for Marvel, DC, Image, and everything in between. Busy week this past week, not so busy this coming week, but I'm sure we'll have plenty of stuff to talk about, especially with Eric O'Sullivan. Oh no.
Howdy.
All right.
You wanted the pain, you got it.
Okay, fantastic. Great. So now it's a party. Just reviews and more reviews. Looking forward to the topics we got on tap today, and especially with the stuff that's going on with both DC and Marvel. So I'm sure we're going to have plenty of interesting topics.
Hey, did you find any gems this weekend in the indie scene for reviews?
You know what? Actually, one or two. I'm sort of like jotting them down so I don't forget for later. I'll say pretty much right off the bat, DC overall was a big dud for me this week. There might be one or two okay ones, but for as many comics they put out this week, what a disaster. I mean, this was a terrible week for DC. Marvel had one or two okay ones, but DC is a stinker in October, and I guess we'll talk about it.
Yeah, it was not absolutely amazing. So
no, we'll
see how that one goes. And then we do have stepping in on late notice. And I thought, what am I doing? Where it's Halloween weekend and I don't have the king of cosplay on the channel, but Eric O'Sullivan sneaks in. And what are you dressed up as this weekend?
I'm dressed up as a comic skater.
Oh no!
I'm expecting a wave of I need attention, and I don't care what it is and how I get it. So I'm just gonna say some stuff on Twitter.
I thought you were going to be dressed up as Gumby or something.
That would be great. I was thinking Pikachu, but that it would just been too much. And
It's too bright.
yeah, I don't want to get clipped by you guys. You know what I mean? I mean that literally or figuratively at this point. The gangster thing.
So you are the biggest fan of cosplay that visits the channel on the regular. Do you have plans for Halloween?
There's a party downstairs with my neighbors, and I have I got that Tyler Durden get up. That's the young chicks don't get it. That's okay. But I don't
Well,
even
you're not
care.
looking for young chicks. We're old dudes.
Yeah, exactly. But it's funny, like when you wear the Tyler Durden thing, young guys, they get it. They're still guys are still watching Fight Club. So it's still out there. The spirit is still out there.
So you are actually a chef, and you've
I
been a
am.
chef for years. Does that get you extra invites, especially in the building, where they know that you're going to bring like the pigs in a blanket or something?
It can and it does. You have to have a stunt dish. Like my favorite stunt dish is a barbecue item. It's called it's a grill pizza, and it's easy to do. You just make your dough, and you oil the grill, and then you throw the dough on it. You put the cover on it. You turn it. You flip it, and then you pull it off and make your pizza. Then finish the pizza. And people are like, "Oh my God, you made a pizza on a barbecue!" I'm like,
And you're just sitting there with like your smoke in your mouth, and you're like, "Yay, I got the pizzas, they're coming."
Yep.
Yeah, and like all the chicks are lined up. Like, how do you do it?
And good morning to everyone. Thanks for hitting me up, man. Yeah, it was a pleasure to step in. Points off the bench. Good to see Josh and Gabe. Hi, Nandor. I'm Eric. Good to meet you, man. I'm Sully.
Hi, Eric. Yeah, nice to meet you too.
Awesome. Cool.
Yes.
Good to everyone and everyone in the chat. Hello.
We do have a couple people AWOL. I'm not sure where Doc and Aaron are. Aaron is on the West Coast, so maybe he's sleeping it in. Perhaps he had a Friday night party or something, and then every once in a while, Doc just sleeps in as well. So who knows? We're gonna have fun with or without him. That's how we do it.
Exactly. I got new funny books. I can talk funny books all day.
Absolutely. Last but not least, we do have Josh McDonald, the man from Popeye Culture. You are definitely dressing up for Halloween, right?
I am. Yeah, I'm supposed to be going tomorrow night to visit my brother and his kids, and we're gonna go trick or treat in their neighborhood. But I'm being a little basic this year. I'm just dressing up as a Ravenclaw from the Harry Potter universe. So that's
Just random student?
yeah. Just I'm gonna be like me, Ray. I'll be me. Why not? But look,
Oh,
here's
my
look,
goodness.
here's the exciting thing. This is why I want to go with something just kind of like low key and chill. This neighborhood, it's an affluent neighborhood. They give out full size candy bars, and if you're an adult, they've got Jello shots for the adults.
Ooh.
So,
There you go.
That sounds like a Hansel and Gretel situation.
that's right.
Next thing you know, you're chained up in the basement. You're like, oh man.
No, that
Should've
comes
fallen
later.
for
He's
Joe's
already got that plan for later. Don't worry about that.
My bad. I'm already dressed up. This is me. I'm like a jack-o'-lantern. That was what I decided to dress up as this year. But my boys went as Batman and Robin.
I was gonna say, when was the last time you guys like dressed up for Halloween? Like were like super excited, like not just like because of your kids, or like what age were you like? Okay, no more.
23. I think I was in Colorado and I got invited to a party, and I actually dressed up and acted like an idiot. But I grew out of it.
I feel like I always get excited. My excitement mostly depends on the weather. If it's gonna be hot, I don't get excited. If it's cooler, I'm like, all right, let's do this.
I'm more of a Thanksgiving guy. I like the food-based holidays, like a 4th of July, like a Thanksgiving. Those are the ones that, I understand candy, I guess, could be construed as food, but I'm more interested in like green bean casserole, maybe a turkey, some type of roast. Obviously Christmas is a good one too, because everyone's going to have food.
Yeah,
then,
I need the rolls. Like, give me some bread. Yeah, that's.
Oh
that's
man,
what
you're
I
down
need.
there in South Missouri. You get the throat rolls, right?
Yeah, yes, I love them.
What's the name of that
it's a joy.
restaurant?
What's that?
What's the name of that restaurant? The home of the throat rolls, where you catch it with like a net. I can't remember the name.
Oh, I can't.
They
yeah,
just
I know
throw
what you.
them throughout the restaurant. It's on the Arkansas border. Yeah, I think people like drive up from Alabama to go there. So you're.
Oh, we're
is
getting
he gonna
real.
Be doing, he's going to be doing changes all show. We're going to see all of his costumes. we got the first Avenger, Captain America.
Challenge
So
accepted.
That's the first Captain America movie uniform, not the really good one that shows up in the Winter Soldier, though, right?
No, that's the second one.
This is
Because
I think
he
the
doesn't have the
second
chin
one.
strap.
That's nice.
We
to
know
see the move
Eric's
there, buddy.
answer to this question. He never stopped. He never stopped dressing up.
Right. Well, that's a good one. I like that. You nailed it. Yeah. One of those
All right, we
people,
did.
you know, you walk down the street and you just pull from your hip and you go. Vroom, vroom, vroom. we all still do that.
I like the guys posting their W's, like Twitter account. I think it's funny. This lady was taking a picture of her brother, or I'm sorry, her husband and his brother, like out in the snow, and she's like, they got new lightsabers this year. They've been going for 20 minutes, and they were just out there having a lightsaber battle in the snow. I was like, it's about right.
That's awesome. I just turned 26 this year, and for my 26th birthday, I live nearby a large golf course, and so I had all of my friends come out, and we all had lightsabers, and we had this massive lightsaber battle just on the golf course, running around, and it was a joy. I loved it.
So were you replaying the scene from was that Attack of the Clones at the end, where you have all the Jedi?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Very nice. You're taking down the droid army. I appreciate that. We've got some peoples that have spoken. Lane says, shout out for fantastic comics. If you need something, go look up and hit up Yule Carter. If you have a variant or comics you want to get, he's great. Absolutely. And Yule is out at a Comic-Con this weekend, and he was unavailable, but definitely always hit up Yule. He's really easy to get a hold of. He's actually going to get me my copies of Batman Year One facsimiles, as well as the faux simile of 428 with the alternate ending on the end. So I'm excited about that myself. He also says Danny Lord JLQ book for Gabe to review. Is that a real thing, or is it just a hypothetical? Is he just trying to get you to freak out?
Why does your audience hate me, Wes? Why does your audience hate me that they keep taunting me with the possibility and trying to speak this into existence? No, it doesn't exist, but they're trying to make it exist, and they're trying to make me review it, and I don't know.
Well, Doc would have to review it too, so being mean on multiple levels.
But I'd probably get it early, and I'd probably have to say something about it, and then Doc would have to say something about it, and you'd have to.
And Danny Lore would call you out on social media.
Danny Lore would call me out and call me a bigot.
You apologize because you're such a nice guy.
Yeah, if you want to see if you want to see, yeah.
Kelly Thompson got you.
Kelly Thompson, did she get me? Did she though?
You backed off.
No, I did not.
Valid point, sir.
I was being
way too nice about it.
I was being a professional.
You two had a good example of a civil conversation on social media at this point in the game. I really commend you, both of you, Ms. Thompson and you, Gabe, on that. That was good to see.
She came in a little hot, and I diffused the situation with some expert wordsmithing, and that's just how I roll. But if you want to, I'll give you a little preview. If you want to see some heat, wait till the Comical Opinions op-ed comes out on Monday. I address a very specific point made by Mr. Tim Sheridan regarding his Alan Scott comics. So, I might be shaking the tree a little bit too hard on this one, but you know what? I want to address facts instead of fantasy.
Was it a very good comic book?
No, it wasn't.
I'm not talking about the comic specifically. I'm talking about a claim he made in his promotional video.
Which one?
Which
video?
The first one where he's talking about the that there's a huge untapped LGBTQ market for superhero comics, and we actually did some research. And we've got numbers, and we'll see how that turns out.
There's a huge audience for LGBTQ manga, but they don't so much try to do the Venn diagram with superheroes and LGBTQ stories.
Well, so I'm kind of
separate audiences.
Yeah, I'm spoiling it with a little bit of a tease, but yeah, if you follow us on Monday, the op-ed probably with the video and the podcast recording will all come out that day, and we'll dig into some numbers and we'll see what's fact and what's fantasy, and we'll get that straight now.
My goodness. All right, well, let's say thank you very much to some of our Patreon supporters. It's been a good week for us. Want to say thank you very much to Andrew Gonzalez, aka El Rayo from Boltberg. K&N Cast, also known as the Shadow K, the protector of Shadowfell, Dan Battles, Battle Master, the man protecting Chicago, Logan Tedder, Sonic Surge, protector of Echo Heights, and Yuri Volti, Thunderstroke, the protector of Ultropolis. And definitely thank you all very much for that. If you're interested in supporting me on Patreon, there's a link in the video description. And we do have lots and lots of different amenities to offer out there on the different tiers. And it will also be coming to YouTube sometime within the next month or so. We'll have something similar to that available, because I know not everybody is excited about going on to Patreon. But so far, it's been very successful, and I really appreciated that. Oh, whoa, we got Kenneth Dowling in the house. Good morning, gentlemen. Hope all is well. Have you all seen the new promo for Ultimate Spider-Man? No, what are you talking about? Did something happen for Ultimate Spider-Man?
What?
What? Meet the Parkers? Yeah, it was I probably would have done a different artist than Stegman, because he's a little bit more gritty, but it looked good. Were you excited, Gabe? I mean, you gave it the side like you weren't. Do you not want to see Peter Parker and Mary Jane be happy?
Well, that's going to be, maybe I should save it. Is that going to be one of our big topics? I think that's one of our big topics.
Topic number 3.
Let me save it for then. I had a very gut reaction to it, but we'll save it when we get to the topic.
It is. I'm sorry, Kenneth. He's not with us. I'm excited. I've already made the thumbnail for the conversation I'm going to have with Doc tomorrow. And it's all smiles. There's nothing, not even Doc can get me not excited about this comic book. But I don't know. I thought it was a promising thing. Krista Bliss, here in the Philippines, it's almost All Souls Day here. Westerners, spooky. Now, I believe that's when everyone goes out and they spend the night in the cemetery here. It's a little bit different. Would you do that, Josh? You seem like you spook easy.
I actually do not spook easy, and spending the night in the cemetery actually sounds kind of fun. So
it's not just spending the night. You bring the whole family and you bring like a spread and you just like eat and get drunk.
I mean, I used to go watch movies in cemeteries, and then it became like a popular thing.
You're desecrating graves?
No, so there's Hollywood Forever Cemetery in Los Angeles, and it got really like tattered and in shambles. So a new owner purchased it, and they raised money to try to kind of bring it back to where it was nice and presentable. He started showing screenings of people that were buried there, celebrities that were buried there. So they would project it on the side of a mausoleum. And they started off just doing horror movies and then went on from there. But I was there from the beginning, and then it got really, really, really popular. And I bounced after that because it was just too much of a nightmare.
You're like the guy that was a fan of Incubus until they got on MTV, and you're like, never mind Incubus.
No, I liked Incubus even after MTV. It just got too much. Like, you had to get there like 3 hours early just to get in and get settled.
So you just sit on the headstones? What do? You pop
no, they got like a little like field that you sit in. So they didn't have graves next to the mausoleum, but they have peacocks that wander through that cemetery and stuff. It's kind of cool.
There's no Gabe. You wouldn't be down for this, would you?
What, for desecrating gravestones for the sake of personal entertainment? No.
Yes. Yeah, I knew it. Jeez, Josh.
No, I mean, I'm okay with doing. I mean, if you're in the Philippines, what are you looking for? Aswangs? You're looking for some kind of weird, creepy Filipino cryptids or something out there in the gravestones? I mean,
no, Aswangs aren't like ghosts or anything. Aswangs are like little demons that eat babies.
Yeah, they're like vampires or something, right? Some kind of like.
But they feed on children.
Right.
When I had my first son on the way back from days before we had my first son, I went out to dinner. It was going to be the last time we got to eat out before my wife had the baby. And her cousin was with us. And on the way back, he told us to stop, and he went into his house and gave me a set of shark teeth and told me, put this on the baby's door. It'll keep the Aswangs away. I was like, I don't know about that. But my wife was like, absolutely, right on the door. You got to keep the little baby, even vampire things away.
Yeah, those things are weird and creepy. But as far as doing something inside of a cemetery, I mean, maybe if it was like one of those old, colonial era cemeteries where nobody's been buried there for 100 years or so, I might check it out just to see if we have a little bit of fun with that. I mean, I'm right by a historic colonial town, not too far from it, where a lot of Revolutionary War stuff happened. Benjamin Franklin and George Washington, all those guys that visit, and it's supposedly full of ghosts. So we get that kind of stuff popping up every year, which is kind of fun.
Man, if I was going to go to a haunted city, I'd want to go to not Deadwood. What's the one in Arizona?
Bastion.
What?
Come to Boston.
No.
We're
OK
wicked
Corral.
haunted. I'm just kidding.
No. The OK Corral.
Oh,
Tombstone.
Tombstone.
that
supposedly
anniversary
there's
was yesterday.
There's a hotel there that is extremely haunted, and I would definitely do that.
Yeah.
But I'm interested in like the Wild Wild West. All right, Doc. I've ignored you long enough. You finally decided to make it. What happened? You slept in, didn't you?
No, actually, my power and internet were just out. I don't know why. No notice, no anything. It's not raining, and then it just turned back on. I don't know.
Well, there you go. Well, we were missing you and Aaron, but I don't think Aaron's going to make it. So we've had Captain America step in. Can you believe it?
Oh,
My
Captain-
doc,
That was a great reaction.
I believe in Doc, but my doc doesn't dress like that.
I don't believe it. As a matter of fact, because
Very
Captain
nice.
America
What do
doesn't
you-
have
what
a
do you-
Boston accent.
What are you dressing up as this weekend?
Me,
Yes.
a fat nerd.
Dude, you could do Russian scientists because when I put that thumbnail up there with the fake you on it, it looked pretty real.
I know.
He could definitely
I could
pull
be
off
Dan
Zangief from
Slott.
Street Fighter.
Zangief, do you want to wear
yeah.
the briefs?
He can do that.
I could probably pull off Zangief. I
You
could
should-
definitely pull off Dan Slott.
Yeah, but then you'd have to like
Yeah.
get rid of the beard. You
would.
what you
No,
need to
he's-
do? You need to do the pirate from SpongeBob.
I don't.
Come
I don't get that reference. I'm too old for SpongeBob.
I think he was played by
I
that
don't
Spanish guy. Right?
like.
Banderas?
I never watched SpongeBob, so I have no idea of.
I mean, I didn't watch
Antonio
SpongeBob either.
Banderas.
It was Antonio
Is that the
Banderas.
pirate you're talking about?
Mhm.
Was that really Antonio Banderas?
Yes, he was a pirate in the SpongeBob movie.
Oh, I'm talking
Sponge
about
out
the
of water?
cartoon, like when it first starts. You got that pirate at the very beginning before they do the theme song. It looks like Doc.
No,
Nah,
the pirate in the show is the same guy who does the voice of SpongeBob. What's his name? Tom Carey, something like that.
Well, there you go. So I know that Aaron is dressing up as Professor Pig. Apparently, other people are dressing up. We've got Omega Man. Hello, everyone. I was at a Halloween party last night as Clark Kent and got very drunk, and now I'm hungover. Here's some cheddar. Well, thank you very much. That was like
Yeah, boy.
one of the moments. Was that Halloween or Superman 3 where he gets drunk because he's depowered?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah, that's
He's
exactly what I
infected with
thought
that
of.
fake. Yeah, he's infected with the fake kryptonite that's infected with tar or something.
Yeah.
Closest thing to
Superman
Bizarro
3 is
we
not
got.
a good movie, but that was a good moment.
Mhm.
He gets hammered and starts destroying the. No, he gets his ass kicked for popping off of the mouth of that guy. Yeah, well, very nice. Sleep it off, Omega Man. Hope you enjoy this. We will try not to be too loud. I don't want to give you a headache or anything. What you need is an ibuprofen and some Gatorade. That is the cure all for
Absolutely.
hangovers.
And a bong hit.
I don't
That can't
do-
hurt.
I don't smoke drugs, and I don't encourage it. But perhaps that's the other thing you need. Maybe you need some brownies.
You know, it says in Genesis that anything that grows from the ground is ours, man. So come on, man, get aboard.
I don't like beets either, man. You know what I'm saying?
I don't either. Beats are gross.
I love beets.
Beets should be used to dye clothing. And that's about it.
Fair. Yep.
People
with
should
you.
be eating that stuff.
Pickled
It's
beets
weird.
are the best.
Federico de la Casa. Why are Peter and MJ together in the Ultimate Universe, but not in the 616? Oh, so they're throwing us a bone. They're giving you a reason to go support Ultimate Spider-Man.
Yeah,
Except
the
for
question of the last 20 years.
Yeah. They're together in the Ultimate Universe so they can break them apart again. That's what it is.
yeah.
Mark my words. Give it a year to a year and a half. They'll be separated.
You guys aren't going to get me negative on this.
Just,
I'm
well,
hopeful.
we have like an hour and a half left. Get ready, Wes.
Well, Doc and I are going to do a whole video on it tomorrow.
If I was Grant Morrison, I'd systematically have this entire family ended, and then you have Vengeful Pete. That's gonna be sick.
Well, you have there's a lot of bits about this that don't entirely make sense. Such
All right,
as,
well, we'll get to that. We're going to have a whole segment, and we're going to have a whole conversation, Doc.
all right.
But the reason it's happening is I think they wanted to placate people before they might pull the rug out from underneath you. I don't know, they're jerks, something like that.
They're playing with fire. That's what it is. They like to play with fire.
Is that what you call your emotions, Doc? Like, don't play with fire.
No. I mean,
Moving.
no. What I mean is the audience, just the audience, the target audience for this. They're gonna do it just so they get the opportunity to fuck them over again.
All right. Well, we'll find out. We'll get to that one. But thank you very much to everyone for supporting the channel. Gonna have some fun stuff to do here, and Docker's forever shame for showing up 25 minutes late. But we did have news. We saw that Heidi Ho Comics as well as Jeffries Comics are closing down in LA. We've already had Jim Hanley's Universe shut down in Manhattan. We've also got a couple of shops outside of New York City. I think more upwards around Buffalo that are shutting down. There was a couple more shops, and it started to get me a little nervous here, Doc. Is this alarming news, or do we normally see like 8 shops actually make the news for closing down in like a 6-week period? And I know that there were more shops than that. People have been telling me about a shop in Winnipeg that shut down, and a few other ones recently.
Look, I mean, are we shocked by this? I mean, this is the thing that we all knew was occurring.
Mm-hmm.
They just decided to cover it now. Now, granted, a lot of these are like even 1 or 2 of these here were their like second shops or third shops. So it's definitely a market contraction. We know that it's a market contraction. We've been saying
But
that
should we be alarmed, or is this
Yes,
normal?
we should absolutely be
Okay.
alarmed. I mean,
There we go.
you don't have to go full on the sky is falling, but yes, you should be alarmed when a formerly robust industry becomes a not robust industry that requires contraction, significant contraction. Yeah, that's something to be alarmed about. And when it's only contracting, there's no growth. There's no offsetting. You know, this is just a market contraction, and that is not healthy in any way. Now, granted, it does possibly make for easier shopping. I mean, you only have to go to 2 stores to buy all the back issues instead of 5, but that's me just trying to find a silver lining in an otherwise terrible situation.
And that's only if other shops have the money to buy their inventory.
Yeah. Otherwise, it just ends up absorbed into that guy's personal collection and then sold
off
on eBay.
Yeah.
So, no, this is not healthy for a comic industry, but this is the exact things that we were told wasn't happening when we could all see with our very eyes. This is what's happening. We were getting reports of it for months, a couple of years now, of this comic shop near me went out of business. This one did too. This one did too. And sometimes they just moved. Sometimes they went to cheaper property, which is, that's just the interim step before you close or before you. I mean, when you're going from valuable, good, storefront that has good foot traffic and all that stuff to little strip mall next to the Chinese nail torture place, and a We Buy Gold store, and then all of a sudden now you're into an even smaller place that's really off the beaten path. Yeah, it's just the steps of death. Okay, fine. It took you a little. It was dying and closing with extra steps. That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, you're combining several components all at the same time, and they're just now starting to crash on each other. You have a very poor economy. That's just the nature of it. If you live in the United States, and I know we have people from all over the world listening in right now, but if you're in the United States, the economy is very poor right now. So not at all a good circumstance for anybody to own a thriving business unless you have a very high demand product, and that's the key. So if you're going into an LCS where their main bread and butter is new comics weekly or whatever, what have you, and they're not supplementing with other things like Funko Pops, which is kind of coming out of favor now, or a expensive manga shelf or section, and maybe other things like maybe they're doing some tabletop role-playing games, or they're doing some Magic the Gathering cards, or other stuff, just not new comics. Unless they're supplementing and had figured out that market, new comics on a weekly basis is no longer a compelling reason for somebody to come into an LCS across the board. And I'll argue with anybody any day of the week to show me otherwise. Even the big even in the big stores like Golden Apple or Midtown or any of the big super chains that Marvel and DC actually listen to when they're provided feedback. They have to be huge to sustain themselves, but even then they're supplementing themselves with other things. They have guest appearances. They do commissions they do gaming. They do commissions on the the blank covers where they say have a superstar guest artist come in and do a commission out of the 1 on 100 or 1 out of 25 or whatever else you can imagine. But if you just said I want to open a shop, to scrap everything else, put everything else away, and said I want to open a shop where we cater to people coming in every week to buy new comics, that business right now would not succeed. It would not survive. It would not thrive. It's not sustainable because the core product in and of itself is not a good enough reason for somebody to get up out of their chair, drive over to that store, and spend a significant amount of money in that store, because the quality of the product, just be honest, the quality of the product isn't good enough for people to spend the money on the cover prices that they're asking. It's just not. Now, you can say somebody will come along and say, well, okay, we just need another publisher to step up. That's fine. That's going to take time. But the reality is right now, it's still Marvel and DC. As much as we rail on Marvel and DC and put them down and say, okay, they're doing this, that wrong, and that wrong, right now, they're still the two big dogs of any other publisher that are out there. Like it or not, that's just the way it is. And I'm not talking about manga. That's separate, and I kind of view it as its own animal, because that's just the way it is. If you're talking about superhero comics, it's Marvel and DC. That's the name that everybody recognizes. Those are the names that everybody think of when you say superhero comics. And when Marvel and DC do poorly, it drags everyone else down with them, because people are less interested in showing up for smaller publishers than they would be for the big ones. If Marvel and DC rise up and do better, like all ships, rising tide lifts all ships. When Marvel and DC do great, that brings everybody else along and opens up those opportunities. When Marvel and DC are down, everyone else suffers.
There's an analogy you can use here of the one of the more also American concepts, the same way that comics, especially superhero comics, are a uniquely American art form. What is also uniquely American in our commerce, the mall. It's a very uniquely American idea. Think about Marvel and DC. They're the anchor department stores that are at the end of the mall. Have you ever noticed whenever any mall ends up, we all know when it's going poorly, because the mall is about to die when there's a wig store. That is the telltale sign of a mall that's about to die.
It used to be an Orange Julius too.
Yeah,
you lose your Orange Julius.
Yes. Done. So, but you see how many malls out there are lacking two anchor stores. You got to have one at both ends. That's the way the mall works. Yep. And those anchor stores, be them Boscov's, Macy's, Saks, whatever,
Target, JCPenney, Sears, all those,
Kohl's,
Dillard's,
Kohl's, Kmart,
Dillard's.
Whatever.
Those are Marvel and DC.
Yep.
When they are doing well, most of the time, the stores, all the little tiny stores inside, are indie comics. They are small press. They are indie comics.
You saying Hot Topic doesn't bring asses into the mall?
No, it does not.
That's where the kids go.
Unless it's Halloween time. Unless it's Halloween.
I mean, there's, And when all of a sudden the wig store can afford to be in there, because that's it's another probably poor margin business. I don't know. I've just always noticed that a wig store comes in right before they die.
Yeah, but the piece I will disagree with, the piece that you mentioned that I know it's not you coming from you directly, but you're just sort of bringing it up, is the piece that superheroes are necessarily a predominantly or viewed as a very Western type of comic. And we're getting into it, is manga has all kinds of really big hit titles that if you look at them with just looking at their superficial layers, those are superhero comics.
I understand.
My Hero Academia is a superhero comic. Bleach is a superhero comic.
Ultraman's been around since
Ultraman's a superhero comic. One Punch Man is definitely
One Punch
a superhero
Man.
comic.
Yeah.
I get that, and I'm not saying that nobody else can do superheroes. I'm saying that it is it's the American mythology. It's how American mythology got created. The same way that the Greeks had the gods and the Egyptians had their gods. This is our gods, not taken as seriously. Although it'd be really, really funny to see people worshiping Superman and praying to Wolverine. But
wait, am I the only one that does that? No.
He's like, my shrine is just off the kingdom.
Like, guys, like, this is our shrines.
I got a Star Trek shrine right behind me, dude.
A disproportionate amount of Brits consider themselves like Jedi as their religion.
There's at least 3 shrines on the screen right now.
So my LCS has been here in town for a little over 30 years. And I was talking to him. It's become kind of a weekly conversation of just checking in to see how they're doing. And this year has been especially rough. And he made the comment that he's had some customers that are like, well, how's business going? And he'll say, I don't know if we're going to make it past this year. And he's like, I've had a few people say like, oh, you've said that before. We've heard that before. You'll like ground zero. It's going to be fine. You guys always make it. And he was like, he's like, this year is just, it's different. And he was talking about just the different things that are, playing into what they're experiencing. We kind of mentioned the lack of quality in comics. He went from selling or putting roughly, 30 copies of Justice League or Avengers on the shelf a week, 40 copies of Batman a week on the shelf. That's not his pull. That's not people that have their pull list. And he's getting down to where he's like, it's 5 or 6. He's like, maybe 10 of Batman. He's like, the interest is not there. People aren't coming in for the books. And on top of that, there's so many other things they're facing. There's the shipping. He's paying so much more for shipping now because he's getting from different distributors. So the discounts they used to get aren't there. Just the in general, like, rise in the cost of shipping on top of that has hit him. And then we're facing a situation in our town where the city is growing. And the city's expanding and they're putting new things in. And he's specifically gotten more competition recently because he went from... In 2020, it was him and one other store that sold games and comics. Now, since then, there's been 4 other stores that have opened that have some type of presence in games or comics. And then, we talked about how manga is booming. He's got a great manga. There's a whole, 25% of his store is just manga, but he's now competing with Target and Barnes & Noble. If you walk in our Barnes & Noble, there's aisle after aisle after aisle of manga. If you go to Target, you got a really long aisle in the book section that's just manga. So, the competition he's facing, the increase in prices, the lack of interest, it's just kind of like one after the other. And I think we're finally, we're hitting the straw that's kind of breaking the camel's back.
Yeah. It's the apathy point. They're hitting the apathy point.
Oh, agreed.
I was talking to Mark Miller and he said he went to his shop that he frequents. Mm-hmm. And he said the owner there says, I don't buy shelf copies of X-Men anymore. Mm-hmm. Which is just absolutely insane. That's X-Men's one of your 4 big temples.
I talked to X-Men right now is impenetrable for a casual reader. If you wanted somebody who wanted a jumping on point for X-Men, you will not find a jumping on point that has existed in the last 5 years plus. It is impenetrable.
Hold on, let's ignore that part here. I mean, that is accurate, but I think that's more of the result. Remember 3 years ago when stores were saying books like Catwoman or the more like, you know, even Captain America and not Captain America, but books like Iceman,
Hawkeye.
you know, Iceman, like the bad books, Falcon,
Hawkgirl.
when it
Hawkgirl.
was a joke. Well, Hawkgirl wasn't being published back then, but 5 years ago there were the books that we would constantly make
Squirrel
fun
Girl,
of,
right?
Yeah, Squirrel Girl, shit like that. And you had stores saying we don't carry shelf copies of it anymore because we only do it if it's ordered. We only even order it if it's pre-ordered. And you know, everybody said, especially in the comic industry, well, they're books that aren't for everybody. You know, there should be a shelf copy, but we understand if there isn't.
Mm-hmm.
When the comic shops are now treating X-Men and Amazing Spider-Man
Yes.
like
Moon Girl.
they
Exactly.
did Squirrel Girl 4 years ago, do you realize how far this industry has fallen? When there's a single store in the country, the fact that there's even a single store, much less probably multiple, where you don't order a shelf copy of X-Men or Spider-Man, your whole fucking industry is dead. You're on life support.
Marvel's
That's it.
flagship comic right now is Amazing Spider-Man. That's the one that's consistently at the top of the charts. And who is the big character that shows up in Amazing Spider-Man this week? Wreck Rap. Wreck Rap.
was not a good book.
That's
it was
stupid.
Cute.
That's stupid.
It was adorable.
Eric, I'm going to slap you. I'm going to slap
Dude,
you.
you're gonna have to come over here. You're gonna have to come down here. And do it.
That big, stupid, toothy demon thing that came from Limbo. That was their big draw for Amazing Spider-Man. Their number one book.
Exactly.
Marvel has lost the plot.
I've noticed this for months at my local comic book shop. Because of this show, I go back to my local comic book shop every Wednesday. And so every Wednesday, I'm there about, say, 3 p.m. and they open at 11. So they've been open for 4 hours. And I notice this every time it's fresh. And I asked the guy, the owner, and I'm like, dude, you sell out of Amazing Spider-Man so quickly. And he's like, dude, I got like 50 pulls, but I only order like 4 or 5 for the shelf. And then that's it. And because I thought it was just like, I didn't even occur to me like, wow, you don't have like any in the back that you're keeping to put on the shelf later. And he's like, no, that's not how it works. I'm like, damn. Like,
I
so if
remember
you go on a Saturday, you're not going to get your Spider-Man.
Yeah, it's
7
an attrition
years
race.
ago,
It's a
I
race
went
to attrition.
I went into Heroes and Fantasies in San Antonio, and I saw in all the end caps, it was just lentricular after lentricular covers of Marvel stuff, and I was like, "Did you guys order all that? Like, you couldn't sell any of it?" They're like, "No, they just shipped it to us."
Oh,
And it's like,
During
I guess it was
Legacy,
nice that it was free, but it's just taking up space of stuff that people might want to buy. Nobody wanted the Marvel. What was it? Legends? No, it's not Legacy.
It was
I think it was
Legacy.
Legacy that had all the
Oh.
lentricular covers, and they couldn't sell any of it. It'd been months. I was like, man, that's not good. Yeah, lentricular covers wasn't the thing, Doc. You know what's also weird? I'm hearing this behind the scenes. They've actually offered X-Men, like the mainline title, the flagship, to like 6 or 7 people now, Doc, and
Nobody
no one's
wants it.
like accepted it.
Nope.
Well, remember, they offered it to Remender before Hickman, and Remender said no. They just offered it to him again. At this point, the X-Men and Remender, or X-Men is that nerdy guy that keeps asking out the hot girl and keeps getting shut down.
No,
and now
it's,
he's
what's
just
his name? It's
working-
Freddie Prinze Jr. that was hot at one time, but now you look at it, you're like, nah.
Yeah.
What was I
Now
ever
he's just doing a wrestling podcast.
Oh,
but
come
no,
on, he married Buffy, dude.
I don't
That's right.
care.
he's a lucky man.
but regardless,
X-Men #1 had Jim Lee on it. It ain't there
Yeah.
anymore.
yeah, like you can't. And now he's just working his way down, like the slightly less hot girls, to try to find a date for the prom. He's
still married.
no. What I mean is, Marvel as the nerdy guy trying to get somebody to fucking write him. They can't.
I know Al Ewing turned it down.
Al Ewing's gone. Come on. Kieran fucking Gillen left. God damn. I mean, and he sucks. What's his Jerry fucking Duggan quit? No, look,
well, that's not a loss. Come on, let's be honest.
I understand, but when that's the quality of talent, I mean, look, you're going to end up with Dan Slott on X-Men.
I think it's going to be like either Jed McKay or Colin Kelly and Jackson Lanzig. Those guys have worked with. I've seen those guys been working with Brevoort in a lot of his bigger books lately. It seems like he somewhat trusts them, so that's why kind of my assumption is like you can't relaunch X-Men and make it feel special with Jed McKay as the headline, or it's certainly not Colin Kelly and Jackson Lanzig.
No, I mean Jed McKay is one of Marvel's more consistent writers. I mean, he's hit or miss as far as what the end result is for, like, Taskmaster was awful. Moon Knight is okay.
Moon Knight was good.
Doctor Strange started poorly, but it's gotten better. But at least he's relatively consistent. But if that's your best writer that you can pull on for, saying, hey, come over to X-Men, you're in trouble. Yeah, you're definitely.
He's Zeb Wells and Cullen Bunn with a different name.
Ugh.
They're all the same.
You don't need to get personal. You don't need to get personal.
Cullen Bunn's fine as it.
No, they're very mediocre, bland, generic writers that there's 100 of them that you could put their names into a hat and you're going to get the exact same quality of story. It's going to be very middling. Every once in a while, there's going to be a nugget of a decent idea that maybe he'll play with, maybe he'll explore a little bit. Otherwise, he'll probably drop the ball on. And you can, he's Howard fucking Mackey.
I'm still willing to hear what they're doing with Jordan White, because they're pulling him off, but I haven't heard where he's going. So he's going to end up shuffling him somebody else.
He's going to be the senior editor, not in charge of anything, kind of like Will Moss was before.
Yeah, and he'll be the senior editor in charge of Starbucks orders. I don't give a fuck what that guy, that ukulele playing fuck is doing. I really don't. Okay. Now, but there is no talent that can be brought in that will take the job unless you back up a Brinks truck. Right now,
I think it's because they realize X-Men is in such a bad spot. Like it might be an impossible task to get out of it.
It is a just damaged. No. It's not even damaged. It is a poisoned brand.
Well, I mean, we keep talking about whether or not they could afford them. Like, Remender, I'm sure, is going to command some top dollar. If you would, Lemire or somebody else, they would command top dollar. But I think there's more to it than that. There's definitely a leadership quotient. I mean, when Brevoort was announced to be taking over X titles, my immediate reaction is like, wow, that's just a lateral move at best. I mean, that's not all of a sudden like, yay, X-Men are saved. That definitely was not my reaction to that. So I suspect that a lot of the top tier writers that, people that you would think in your mind as a top tier writer would look at that and say, well, if you bring me in, I still have to report to, at the time it would have been Jordan White, or now it's going to be Tom Brevoort. I don't think that's going to help anybody's case, because they're probably looking at it saying, if I'm going to fix this, I have to tear it out if I'm going to fix the X-Men titles, I have to tear them out by the roots and just wipe the whole thing out and start over from scratch. And I don't think either Jordan White or Tom Brevoort or anybody else at that level of management would allow that to happen. They might say, well, we can make some adjustments and we can do some things, but they're so entrenched as a senior editorial team that I don't think Cebulski would allow it. And so they would say, well, if I can't come in and do it my way and rip it all out.
Well, Dan Buckley's above Cebulski. No, he's the one that gave the offer to Brevoort. It wasn't Cebulski. It came from the president of Marvel.
Right, but what I'm saying is that then that entire senior leadership organization from all the way down, it's the same people. So if a Class A writer wants to come, Class A writer wants to come in and fix, quote unquote, fix the X-Men, they'd have to rip it out all the way down to the roots, scrap it all, and start over. And I don't think they would
yell at him.
Yeah, I don't think that senior leadership team is responsible for where the X-Men is now. So I can't see them all of a sudden saying, yep, you're right, we were wrong, go ahead and rip it out and start over. I don't think they would allow that to happen. So that the money's a piece of it, but I think the leadership is the other piece of it as well.
Yeah,
I
I mean, if Dan Buckley's going to already start making decisions, and look, if you're president, hopefully he's going to start realizing that at some point they need to turn some profits. But if I were someone that I were in a position of leadership, and I saw Mark Miller kind of throwing his challenge out, his gauntlet out of, hey, why don't we get some top talent in here? If I were president of Marvel, I would have called him right away. And I know he's got his DC book that's coming out, but and hey, give him a shot at X-Men. Let him take it. He's dealing with a lot of team type things, a lot of multi characters, but at least it'll be a big name. And I know we're kind of going to get into this later, but it'll be a big name that will hopefully draw attention, get some people in there. And yeah, you're going to have to let somebody, if they've proven they can handle and deliver stories, you're going to have to let some of these people just take the reins and let them do their thing.
I think a lot of people. You're right, what I think is a lot of people are looking at what happened to Hickman when he started off after Fox, and they said, well, he had a good idea, he had a good story, and then Jordan White just went yoink. We're just going to do something different, and the whole thing just turned to garbage. And I think everybody's thinking the same thing. They're all gun shy. They think, if I go in and I start something, am I going to be allowed to finish it? And I don't think anybody's willing to make that guarantee within Marvel's leadership.
Yep. No.
Yeah, and I don't know if you guys remember this, but I think years ago when Remender was on Uncanny Avengers and he did the Axis event, he was building towards an X-Men book, and I think he had a huge pitch ready for it, but Marvel derailed his entire story, and I think that's what made him. I believe it was
actually Bendis that derailed him.
Oh.
That's the way I understand it. He was getting too big or something, and Bendis, there's weird sabotage stuff going on.
Yeah, that's so weird because I read his pitch, because he was doing great stuff with Uncanny X-Force too, and
that's an amazing book.
Yeah. So I would love to see someone like Remender on X-Men, but I don't think they could ever get him just because,
not now. He's exclusive.
Yeah, and you'd be so worried about them derailing your story or changing it, or you not being able to finish it, and like you said, it's happened to Hickman so many times, and I think that's why Hickman is doing the Ultimate Universe, because he's like, okay guys, I don't need you messing up, we're going to restart, and this is my plan. But I think it's really sad for these writers that have all it's a mass exodus of people that are just doing their independent stuff, and they don't want to work
all their
Marvel
own imprints and
DC.
stuff, which
in
theory is exciting, but you're like, I don't know, if there's no talent left at Marvel and DC, then
it's like I'm reading more independent books because I love these writers or these artists that are working on them. I'd love to see them write Marvel and DC books like we used to have, but
you and I are fully invested in comic books just in general, so we're gonna know if our favorite writer has gone and done their own imprint or stuff like that. But you need that ability to penetrate, casual fans, normie people,
right?
And they don't have the names anymore. We're going to get obviously to that here in a second, but
yeah, for sure.
It's not looking good. Let's hear what the peoples have to say. Mr. DC Comics, Doc should be Jessie Ventura for Halloween. You can get the big machine gun with the.
I ain't got time to bleed.
Or would he be Jessie Ventura from
WWF?
Running Man, where he's got the bionic suit or whatever.
It's got the hair and the whole thing.
Yeah,
bad wig.
I was thinking
Jessie Ventura was
feathers,
definitely
underappreciated
and
shit.
Agreed.
Too.
Kenneth says, in Zack Snyder's movies, Superman was looked upon as a godlike figure, and what Doc said about Marvel and DC has been mentioned before. They're doing well. All titles will benefit. Absolutely,
indeed.
If anything, that's a known brand all of a sudden gets hot. All the stuff around it gets hotter as well. It's just kind of the way that it works. And competition's good. That's the thing. There's no competition between Marvel and DC. And I think if they were trying to do better than each other rather than fail equally, we would probably be somewhere,
Or just copying each other. They just kind of watch what the other one's doing and they try to do that, but then you kind of missed the trend already, and they're already late.
Yeah, it feels like this new Century book is just the death of Superman, like the aftermath. You had 4 different people claiming to be Superman, but now you have 3 different Centuries.
Yep.
And nobody cares that much about the Century.
Well, and the people that actually do care about the Sentry, this isn't the story that they were looking
No.
for. So you have a limited
No.
audience that you've already alienated.
No, they want the Sentry back.
Yeah, this is just, and the fact is that there's no build for it. This would be like if they would have done a let's find a Death of Dr. Manhattan story, and where they're bringing Dr. Manhattan back as 4 people, and you're just sitting there going, we haven't even really seen him in like 15 years. Who the hell cares?
Well, nobody anymore.
Exactly.
That's
They're
the
doing it
problem.
like it mattered with Superman, and it worked for the reign of the Supermen, because Superman was part of the cultural zeitgeist, and it was it was something that everybody, it was one of the big tent poles of the industry. That's when it matters, and that's when it can actually move some units. When it's just, hey, let's think of a character that we haven't used in a while, kill them off panel. Well, I mean, I guess Sentry's been dead for a while now. When did he die?
Since Siege, right?
2009.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
15 years. Yeah. almost.
yeah. So you've had 15 years, and then you're suddenly just going to bring him back as it might have been able to be worked if you would have kept Sentry going for the last 15 years, because he had been an active used character for about 5 years at that point, since New Avengers. If you would have kept him going and built him up for the last 15 years, now it would be 20 years into the Sentry being a
Wrap it up,
regular
Doc.
selling character, and then it would have some stakes. Otherwise, it just feels like, oh, we're just gonna. It's slapdash bullshit.
Absolutely. James Hannafin, growing up, my comic shop was 140 miles away. That is a trip. So subscriptions in grocery liquor stores were the way to go. It was the only time I was happy with my alcoholic dad was stopping by for a beer. Where's the panel on Get the Books back then? I didn't read comics back then. We didn't have comics in my small town.
Yeah, so I didn't realize where my comic shop is, I actually grew up like 30 miles south of there. And I didn't even realize that shop was there when I was a kid, but there was a local gas station that had a spinner rack right by the register. And that's where I got all my comics, and that's where my brothers got their comics. So those were the days. And I remember actually picking up a Jim Balance Catwoman #1 back then. So.
All right, Doc, did you have a subscription through Marvel? You probably had the mail-in service.
I have done a couple of things throughout the years. I started when I was like a young kid on the spinner rack, same way a lot of us did back in the 80s. We were buying off the spinner rack, because that is how you create you convert non-readers into readers, having it in places where they go. The fucking Woolworth had a spinner rack. Which for some of you people it was a store.
Woolworth?
Woolworth. Yeah. And and it was just a common store that everybody went to, and I got it off there. And then eventually I found out that, right near where I grew up, about 5 miles away, there was a comic shop. Or actually, it was about 2 miles away from my house. There was a comic shop, and that's where I went for a number of years. And then when I got a little older and moved away from the area and was in in college, I couldn't find a comic shop, so I went to the subscription service through Marvel, which again we discovered a few months ago actually still exists. So you can actually order direct from Marvel, and it'll come in the mail once a month, and it's actually pretty decent discounts. It's like 40% off cover price.
Very nice.
But then I found other comic shops, and now there's a lot of comic shops, and I went to the pull list again.
All right, Doc, we don't need to hear your whole life story. Captain America, where did you go when you were a kid?
I was blessed to have a spinner rack at my corner store, and I had something called pocket change. And sometimes you would rummage around in the couch.
So you went and
and you-
get your dad a beer, and with the
Yeah.
extra quarter, you got the comic book.
Exactly. Hey, you go to the corner store and get me a pack of smokes and keep the change, or go to the corner store and get me my smokes and give me back my change. So that was the deal I had.
Very nice. Gabe, what did you do when you were a kid?
When I was growing up in the mean streets of Brooklyn, we had a little bodega on the corner that had a spinner rack as well. And I think the consistent theme you're hearing over and over again is comics for little kids. For most of us, I think, it started as an impulse buy. It's when you're kind of in the vicinity and the comic just happened to be right there. The cover catches your eye. It's affordable. Hey, mom, can you buy this for me? Hey, dad, can you buy this for me? Hey, do I have an extra $1 or $2? Can you buy this for me? And I think for a lot of us, that's where it all started. It becomes an impulse buy. And that always goes back to the distribution question of over and over again. And, and that question comes up is, how do we do that now? If you were to do it at something like a Walmart or something, that might be a tough sell simply because there's just so much competition for that
Cover
eyeball
price too
space.
expensive to be an impulse buy now. It's way more than a candy bar now.
Yeah.
And the cover
yeah.
price is way too expensive.
So
However, there are places like, for example, there's a place that opened up nearby us. It's called, I think it's called something like 95. It's a tabletop gaming store. Like you go in and they have tables and people go there specifically for gaming. That might be the kind of area where you could have something that's on shelf space, but it doesn't have the sort of the distribution shelf cost boundary to get in there like you would if you were trying to do it at a Walmart or Kmart or Target or something like that. The idea is comics for little kids start as impulse buys, and then once they get hooked, they keep coming back. And one of the reasons that distribution is so much of a struggle right now is you don't have that, and it would behoove us to kind of find better ways to make that happen.
All right, Nando, you are in an entirely different generation than us old fogies here. There might not have even been spinner racks when you were a youngster and you discovered comic books. How did you get in?
Right. So shout out to the Antiquarium. That is my local comic book store that I grew up and in Jefferson City, Missouri. And I remember, so it was that store. I remember the first time I walked in there, it was like this magical place that I never knew existed that my dad took me to, and he just had all these statues, and it's a back issue store too. So just like history of like comic book characters, so many back issues, and so much excitement there. I remember, and I was about like 10 or like 9 years old. But around that same time, I don't know if you guys remember Hastings. But I would go to Hastings as a kid. And, yeah. And like, rent movies. And they started getting comics at one point. And yeah, I would just go there with my family and we'd have these family trips, and it wasn't too far away. And I would just find comics there. And it was awesome. But when I found the actual like comic book shop, like my LCS, that was when I still go to there to this day, and that was when things really started to get the hobby grew and my wallet suffered. So yeah,
They got to find a spot for people to access. I still think it's the phone or the tablet because everybody has one, and certainly kids have them. But they have to get the prices down for digital.
They have to also learn how to discover the product from there. It's only good on the internet if you already know what you're searching for. You have to already be looking for that thing.
HH from Cybercomics says, shout out to Thinking Critical from Anime Weekend in Atlanta. Nothing's better than returning to your hotel to watch aficionados. Thinking Critical, always keeping it real 100% on the state of comics while others are in denial. Godspeed to all. Well, Godspeed to you, sir. And I hope you're having a good time in hot Atlanta. Although it's probably not that hot anymore because it's October. It's been a little chilly. Man, it's probably a good time. If you're in the Atlanta area, definitely go check out Anime Weekend and see if you can find the booth for Sigma Comics. Those guys, HH specifically, will not let you leave without a copy of Here Comes Calico. Maybe even a manga or something like that. That guy is a born salesman.
Yeah.
So I hope you are enjoying the show, sir. Federico de la Casa. My LCS shops in Italy sells a lot of manga, like usually in the last 25 years, and few floppies. I'm in the apathy phase. Only comics that I'm hyped for is Big Game.
Big Game's good.
Big Game is really good.
Yep.
There's only a few big two titles. Like I would say Batman Superman's really good right now. Like I like Green Lantern, but I don't know that that one's going to have as much as appeal. But there's a lot of really good indie stuff going on right now. Big Game might be the best one, but the Sacrifices is really good too.
Yep.
There's a lot of good stuff out there.
I've been meaning to read that. That looks good.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
it's
great.
It's really good. And then
Very
I'd
powerful.
say Conan right now, but Indies
Conan's
a place
also
to go.
really good.
But Indies a crapshoot right now as well. There's like 6 new indie books each week, so it's are you going to test the water on those or not? And while some of them are good, some of them are
Trash. Most of them.
Yeah,
are
because
trash.
Image will publish anything.
Yeah.
Like they have no standard of excellence or quality with their stuff nowadays. That's really a problem with a lot of the publishers. Kenneth says Moon Knight versus Deathstroke, classic Deathstroke.
Moon Knight.
That's a tough one.
Yeah.
Sentry.
I still gotta go. I gotta go with Deathstroke. I
Yeah, I
don't know
think so.
why.
Yeah.
I'm more for
And-
DC guys, so I'll lean Deathstroke, especially classic Deathstroke that could use 100% of his brain and
Yeah.
was super
agreed.
powered up, kind of like Captain America, but could also anticipate everything because he was working on the full brain. Be a good one now. I miss Deathstroke being good and like a formidable foe. He has been a bitch for so long.
Yeah, agreed.
Gobbard says bully fight, Agent Venom versus Superman of China. I will take Agent Venom on pure principle. I saw
Yes.
Superman of China show up this week. I think was it in action?
Yeah.
Yeah. Keenan
It was
Kong
like
showed
everyone
up.
and their dog.
Just showed up.
Yeah.
I was like,
Oh, yeah.
what's this fucker doing here?
You can
Keenan
fly, dude.
Kong should not exist. Therefore, Agent Venom.
Oh, come on. I love his logo. I love that Superman logo. I think that's really nice design. And keeping the red and the
I
yellow
like Agent
colors
Venom.
too.
And I like the redemption story of Flash Thompson.
Yeah, that's true. Because he lost his legs and he's a veteran. He's a war veteran and he served our country.
And
And
he
he's,
used to be
you
a
know-
bully, and now
He's got a good character arc. Yes.
yeah.
I mean, I'll
Remember
give Keenan Kong. Keenan Kong is one of the few circumstances where they did a derivative kind of okay.
Yeah,
Like,
agreed.
He's Superman, but he's different enough from Superman that you can keep him straight, and it's not. A
Yeah,
big
why is he
deal.
showing up with the Superman family when John's not there? I'm like, why is he here?
Well,
Agreed.
no. But if
Remember me?
if you read Action Comics this week, they actually provide an explanation for why he's hanging out with the Super family. Now you may not like the explanation, but they provide one because he's like, I'm spoiling it. He's spoiling it to
You're not
investigate
spoiling.
a murder because he's investigating a murder that one of the Kryptonians might be involved. So he's actually with the Superman family as a sort of a spy.
On the orders from a body positive Chinese Batman, which is hilarious to look at.
Kevin says, I heard great thing about Remender's Uncanny X-Force. What happened there? Why won't he come back? So he won't come back because he has an exclusive and he has his own like imprint giant generator for Image. And he has an exclusive agreement there, so he can't do it. I know that you said you've already had this answered, but if you've never read Rick Remender's Uncanny X-Force, like it's the best version of Deadpool you're ever going to see in a comic book.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's got
Yeah.
Wolverine and
Phantom X. Yeah.
Phantom X has got the best version of that character. They actually made
Yeah.
it work because Grant Morrison couldn't do it. And then Psylocke, it's got a really good version of her too.
Yeah.
What happened is that series ended. He continued a lot of the plot lines when he took over Uncanny Avengers, when he launched that title during Now, like Marvel Now. And then
Good time.
they started using what he was doing as the basis for Axis, which was and basically forced him into writing a bunch of shit that he didn't want to write,
Yeah.
and relaunch Uncanny Avengers again for volume 2 using a bunch of characters he didn't really care about. And then he just said, fuck this, I'm out.
I can't blame him. But go check out that Uncanny X-Force. You get Baby Apocalypse before
Yeah.
everybody and their brother turned a villain into
So
a baby
good.
and made it into a storyline where you had to protect the baby villain. And the are you going to murder the baby? Is I guess the big big moral quandary.
It was go back in time to shoot baby Hitler. The
Reed
end.
Reed Richards did. Come on, Secret Wars 2.
Kalichi, okay. Wes, I caught your video about Batman and Catwoman. Great video. Though you're wrong, Who do you think is a better love interest for Batman? I think he's saying I'm wrong because I don't think Bruce Wayne is hung up on Selena Kyle. I think he's over it. I don't think he loves her anymore. Just let the guy move on and never put him together. If you want a better love interest, Silver St. Clair. They deserve to be together. Better version of Batman anyway. What do you think, Nander? I heard you tisk. You think I'm wrong?
Oh, that was my tisk.
Oh,
Yeah, that wasn't me.
No, I like Silver St. Cloud a lot. I was tisking just because there was a point in time where Batman and Catwoman was really, really working in the early 2000s, and if you had kept with that and kind of kept that dynamic there, fine. But then you had to have Tom King come along and ruin it, and then Tynan kind of do his weird shit with it, and then now you've got Teeny Howard that's absolutely shitting on everything. Yeah, let's give it a rest for a while.
How about this? His mistress is Gotham, and he's in love with her.
There you go.
And he'll never leave her.
You're quite a romantic. I like that.
He's very dramatic. Very dramatic.
You also have because multiverse invented this stuff way back in the 50s and 60s and 70s. You have that. You already had Earth 2, where Bruce Wayne and Selena Kyle got married and lived happily ever after for the remainder of Batman's life, which wasn't that long,
Was it?
But still,
what happened to Vicky Vale? Is she
I
still
saw
around?
her in Tynan's run, correct?
Yeah.
Wait,
she kind of pops in and
that,
out randomly.
That tower, Gotham Tower thing, right?
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Dude, that was Mariko Tamaki. That's
Yep.
where we go. That's the last time I seen her. It was awful. She was infiltrating as was she a psychologist or something? She was a doctor.
Something like that. I don't know. It was weird.
What a bad story.
Yeah, not good. Not good at all.
Arkham Tower.
Dang.
What I find
idea.
kind of distressing or depressing or whatever word you want to use is that in modern Batman discourse, the most attention that anybody can muster to talk about Batman is his relationship with Catwoman. And that's the most interesting thing that anybody can talk about Batman right now. That's a problem.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
That's a very bad problem.
Yeah.
If
It's a problem when he's on his knees crying with his head right between her tits and he's not even motorboating her.
Oh yeah,
He's just crying like a baby.
That was
Like,
that was Teeny's. Yeah, that was Teeny's.
the Bat motorboat.
When the most interesting thing about Batman right now is should he or should he not be with Catwoman? That's a very serious problem with Batman, which is DC's flagship character.
No, it's not what he shouldn't be.
Yeah.
If you're reading current Batman and asking if Batman should or shouldn't be with Catwoman, you're the problem.
Well, yeah,
it's
that's
very
shouldn't be.
yeah. Gotham War is just a disaster.
Look, I'll throw this out there because she hasn't really been used since Scott Snyder tried to bring her in. If I were writing Batman and I had to bring in a love interest, I'd bring in Julie Madison. She was the first one. She was the original, and then she hasn't had much page time to begin with, so you could do some fun stuff there.
Silver St. Cloud, easy. She's a model. Federico De La Casa. I think now that Marvel and DC should start again with everything. Renew the universe, new price, distribution, editors, creators. Worse than starting from scratch.
You can't. I mean, you can pick a time in history to reset to.
Yeah.
You can't reset from the start, or else you lose almost all of the readers that you want to win back.
Comics for 60 years, you made all the stories that they invested in meaningless.
Worthless, yes. And so you can reset to a time in the past. And I have been a big proponent of that for the last 10 years. And it's still the exact same point that I would want to reset to. But now the problem is, instead of that being 10 years of continuity gone, it's 20 years of continuity gone, which makes it more difficult to do. They need to do it. Yes, they need to. I mean, yeah, you need to eliminate, throw out all the editors, all the creators, revise your pricing, your distributing, all that stuff. You need to look at all that stuff. Yes, absolutely. But if you start from scratch, all those longtime readers that have walked away and are now not only no longer evangelizing for your product, but actively discouraging others from reading your product, you're not going to win any of those back. In fact, you're going to alienate even more of them.
Yeah.
And eliminate any chance that they'll ever come back. So that's stupid.
Kenneth says, common sense filled me in on the remender question, but I appreciate your input. Don't worry. I wasn't going to take a miss an opportunity to talk about Uncanny X-Force. He says, Cassandra Cain, Orphan versus Echo. This one's easy because right now Echo has the power of the Phoenix and would absolutely obliterate Cassandra Cain. Oh my goodness, that's gotta be Gabe. It was Gabe. It happened.
Is that
to
better?
What? Yeah, you're good now.
Yes.
Yeah,
Sure
we're
with me?
clear.
Yes.
Maybe not.
Breaker 19, Breaker 19.
Nice.
We got traffic backed up to the gas
Oh,
tank.
goodness.
I'll adjust.
All right.
Okay,
But yeah, I
not
mean,
me. That's all I care about.
but Echo has the power of the Phoenix. The Phoenix Force would absolutely destroy Cassandra Cain, fortunately. All right, I
Yep.
know she's one of your favorite characters, Josh. Tell me why I'm wrong.
No, if Echo's got the Phoenix, she's gonna obliterate her. You know,
She won the tournament.
Yeah.
Yeah, if Echo didn't have the Phoenix, I would probably say Cassandra Cain. But
Yeah, because
mostly-
she's the best fighter in the universe.
yeah,
Or one
yeah.
of the best.
Not Phoenix Echo.
Well,
Yeah,
you know,
she
Echo
gets
would
her
have
ass
to
kicked.
Echo would have to last a few rounds to see what, because that's her power, is to mimic any fighting style that she sees. And I guess
Not
she just
anymore.
have to-
She's the
she's a Phoenix.
Phoenix.
Right, that's true. So Cassandra Cain would have to kill her in the first opening round, in the opening blow. You know, that's how I'm calling
She
it.
would get to
That's
it.
kind of disappointing. She had a really cool power set, and they just made her a Phoenix. I don't know.
Well, Taskmaster also had a really cool power set, and they made him into an imbecile.
Yeah,
Coming
fair
up.
enough.
It's coming up.
Kenneth says Deathstroke is lethal, but Moon Knight is crazy enough and unpredictable enough that he could win. Both Cassandra and Echo can mimic fighting skills, but I think Cass is a better fighter. Cascade wins. Yeah, Echo's got the Phoenix Force right now, brother. But otherwise, I agree with you. If she didn't have it, I think Cassandra Cain would get Echo. And I don't think Moon Knight would actually be that much for Deathstroke on his best day. But he was
Really, man,
close.
no love for Moon Knight. I think
Deathstroke-
Moon Knight would.
Well, I mean, I
think-
personally
think
love
with
Moon Knight,
Khonshu
but-
with him. I think there's
Yeah, but
definitely
Deathstroke
that
against Moon Knight,
supernatural
Deathstroke
element.
takes it.
Yeah, if
I
we've
love
got,
Moon Knight,
like
but
Wes was
Deathstroke
saying,
takes
if you go back to like when Deathstroke was peak Deathstroke, yeah, it's Deathstroke.
when he was destroying the entire Titans and they could never get him.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, those days are gone.
Yeah, he's kind of a chump now. But there was even an issue where
Well, so is the
Batman
Titans,
was,
but you know,
like Deathstroke beat the piss out of Batman and was like, you know, if I wanted to kill you, I would. And then like Batman walks away with his tail between his legs. He had no shot.
In this week's Beast Boy special, Deathstroke is nothing but Gar's bully. That's it.
Exactly.
That's
Well,
what
he's
he
the
is
one
now.
that shot him in the face and lost his eye.
He grew it back.
I wish I hadn't read that. That was bad. Keda says any type of Superman wins. Superman in China beats Agent Venom. Cassandra Cain versus Taskmaster.
well, Echo versus Taskmaster. Cool.
Echoes to Phoenix Force. She would get Taskmaster. I understand what you're saying about Superman in China, but on principle, I'm going with Agent Venom.
Yes,
Because
because
he just showed up in Superman or Action Comics for no reason. I was, what the fuck? It was like completely out of nowhere. It was almost like when you're reading Hawkgirl and they're gonna go fight the dragon, and all of a sudden Supergirl and Steel, Natasha Irons are there, and you're like, where did they come from? Like, why are you even in the book? Doc couldn't even explain it.
there was no explanation for it.
No, they're just there. Keda says Batman's love interest is Gotham City. You are correct, sir.
Yep.
That is the right answer. Mr. Hat, hey, Wes, how's everything? And as an aspiring indie creator, should I put my stuff in comic shops? Will shops go extinct anytime soon? I'm doing well. Well, it depends on what kind of indie comic book creator that you want to be and what your goals are, and what kind of financial deals you want to do. Obviously, Nander has a better idea of this than I do, but you know, you can publish through Image Comics, but you're going to be taking a risk, or you can go through a Kickstarter and Indiegogo, and you're going to be taking a different kind of risk there. You kind of have to look at what you want to achieve with your book, I believe.
Yeah, I mean, you can do both. You know, if you wanna, if you crowdfund a book, and after you get it and you go to shops and you ask them to, ask the shop owner to put your book in there, that can open up so much for you, because not only can you do signings, but people who walk in will see that. And if they have a local spotlight, sometimes shops will have a local section for books. And in my experience, all of my LCS and shops that I've been to have always been very warm and welcoming to indie creators. So I know not every creator gets that. Some shops are different, some owners are different, but it's really worth your while, because one customer is one customer, and one person who finds your book and who loves your book will follow you from to your other books, most likely. So I think if you do crowdfund a book, definitely try to get it in shops, but if you can get it distributed from a publisher, that's even better. But you still have to put in the work in contacting shops and asking them to order your book and all of that stuff. But it's worth it.
You also have to get the word out if you're going to do a crowdfunding book. Just make people aware that it exists.
Exactly.
Because Kickstarter and Indiegogo aren't going to do it for you.
They won't. You really have to, put your feet to the ground and become a marketer.
Yeah. They don't just put your book on the front page on day one. You actually have to be have a lot of sales on it. It's a lot of hard work. So
it is a lot of hard work. I mean, I go to these cons and I get to meet people like HH German, who's he's tireless, man. He's relentless. He's got so much energy, and he goes from city to city selling his book. Now, Mr. Hat, I talked to HH at Sigma Comics. He can tell you the best thing a beginner could do. Seriously, I trust the guy. He makes good comic books as well.
And as far as will shops go extinct anytime soon, well, it depends on anytime soon. I sure hope not.
Yeah, I hope not. It's such an uphill battle. I mean, not only, it's a small business, usually, and it's a very niche market, and, bookstores have a hard time. Local bookstores have a hard time. So even local comic book stores would even have, a harder time. But
in the bigger cities with the bigger markets, the rent is just kind of going up. I think one shop said they were moving because their landlord was raising the rent 70%.
That's right. Yeah, that's insane. I mean, what?
It's a pretty big increase.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll see.
Well,
what
I mean,
happens.
it also goes back to the point that we brought up earlier, is the comic shops, the LCSs, not just somebody that has a rack in the back like a Borders or something like that. The shops that are specifically dedicated for comic sales, they're in a symbiotic relationship with the publishers. That's just the way it is, both for back issue stuff and also for the new stuff. So whether or not the LCSs go under or not is heavily dependent upon either their ability to diversify away from those publishers, or for the publishers to get their act together and start making stuff that people want to buy. That's just a way of it. So if the publishers keep spiraling down, they're dragging the LCSs with them. I know that's an ugly thing to say, but that's the reality of the situation.
Well, yeah. I mean, I thought that was pretty obvious.
Kenneth says, Battle of the Future, TMNT, The Last Ronin versus Batman, The Dark Knight Returns, Josh.
Whoa.
Dark Knight Returns. Come on.
The Turtles are physically much stronger than Batman, even with the mechanical suit or whatever. And they do have ninja training, which I do believe Master Splinter is probably better than any ninja master that Batman was trained under, Josh. I think it's a lot closer than you think.
You're naturally amphibious too, so they could take this fight underwater and totally just
exactly. And they've got the protective shell.
I mean, it's just one of them, though.
Yeah, it's Michelangelo. But this is a hardened Michelangelo that watched his brothers and his father die.
Yeah.
Playing vengeance for 15 years.
Vengeful. Yeah.
Still going Batman, because when you look at it, Ninja Turtles is really just an offshoot of Daredevil, and I think Batman would take Daredevil.
Are you telling me
that does not work?
Are you telling me they Jake Skywalker Michelangelo? They made him into a bitter old man? broken.
Yeah, but in that
They did
case, it made sense.
The mic?
And in that case, it worked. No, but in that case,
They did not Luke Skywalker Michelangelo.
Okay.
The story is much better than The Last Jedi.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. It's
Thank you.
it's the way
You're
you do
upsetting
it
me.
right. Yeah.
Jeez. Did you never read the book?
I skipped that one. I was
You
at
should
a,
go
Oh,
read
it's
it.
good.
It's
It's
good.
good.
I've heard
It's really
great
good.
things about it.
That's the best
And
Ninja
then,
Turtle book in the last decade.
Mhm.
Yeah, and it's got Kevin Eastman art that's doing the
Now,
stories
does it-
where Michelangelo is out by himself.
a serious
Guys,
note, does
I'm
it, does it,
not. I'm not going to stand for this Janica hate right now. How dare you?
Yeah.
Oh, listen, listen. Just take that name out of your mouth. Just take that name out of your mouth,
Calm
Janica.
down, Will Smith.
For goodness sake. Oh.
you think about what you did.
I'm going with I'll go with Michelangelo because of his protective
Same.
coating and training. And
Yeah, my gut says, yeah, the last Ronin is going to take that one.
I'll go with Batman because he actually uses a gun.
I don't know.
Yeah, he does.
Isn't this shell bulletproof? He's a
I've
mutant.
seen it bulletproof.
Mm.
Yeah, that's why you shoot him in the head.
Yeah. The soft parts.
Jeez, you can't even see his head. He's got a ninja covering on it. Jose to Beast here in Clovis, California. We had a comic forum on remembering Keith Giffen. What's the panel's thoughts on your favorite stories by Giffen? All right, Nander. So we kind of covered this one a little bit. We'll go over it again. But what do you have any Keith Giffen stories that you like the most?
You know, I unfortunately I haven't read enough, but the ones that I have read, I really liked his stint that he had on Dr. Fate. I thought was really good with J.M. DeMatteis. I don't know how to pronounce his last name, but
Yes.
that was really good. And then of course his Legion stuff. That's what I know him from. So, but
We haven't heard from you on this one, Gabe. Got any stories that stand out?
I don't think I have a specific story. I think I just appreciate him most for Justice League International, just because it did something so very different that stuck, that people remember. It wasn't just like this offshoot thing I do on the side, and oh yeah, it was cute for a moment. I mean, JLI for all its foibles and faults, is still resonant for a lot of people. For what he
Not
what he's
after
able to
Tom
do with it.
King's done with it.
Well, no. Look, listen. You don't bring him Tom King unless we're going to go there. But I mean, just the fact that he came up with it, that he created a different style, a different tone, and tried to do something different that people liked, even though maybe not everybody liked it, but enough people liked it that they still remember it. I think that's what Legion. Yes, he did a lot of great stuff on Legion, but for my money, just because he created something so new and fresh and different with JLI that people still remember many years later. I think that's what I remember him most from.
All right, how about you, Sully?
It's I agree with Gabe. It's JLI and the Justice League. That was just a special time for me as a kid. I was like in middle school, entering like high school, and just around then. And my grandparents had just moved, and I got a brand new comic book shop, a local comic book shop in Quincy Center at the Rotary, and which is still open 30 years later. 30 plus years later. New England Comics, they're pretty good. They invented the tick. But I would go every Wednesday to my local comic book shop, or maybe every Saturday, because I'd head down to to Quincy on the weekends and say hi to my grandparents and swing by and spend my pocket money there. But it was just, I had them all. And like Millennium, that was like the big crossover event at the time too. And it was just a great time to be a teenager and a huge DC fan, and that bwahaha sense of humor and those Maguire pencils. But it's the bwahaha humor that kept me back, and kept me going back. And that was some of the best stuff. Just like I liked Rocket Red. I liked his voice. As the Soviet dude. He's such a misfit. I liked his handling of Martian Manhunter. That he brought in the Oreo thing. And then of course
that's so iconic. Yeah.
And then there's One Punch, which is the best part, because that's part of Guy's his heel turn to face, and then he's this such a funny Guy Gardner for a good run, and then he hits his head again and confuses the hell out of his girlfriend, who doesn't understand that he's changed. It's really fun. It's really good stuff.
Very
Thank you
nice.
for
Common
asking.
Sense. Keaton Kong would beat Agent Venom. I will concede that, but I'm not going with it. He's also magic. He's split into two. The Yin Keenan and Yang Keenan. Clark should have adopted Miguel Montez to replace John. I don't know, man. Adopted another son to replace your gay son just feels wrong.
Well, I mean, he's adopted Osu and Osu, right?
Yeah, but that's not specifically to replace John, is it?
I want to see a storyline where Clark flies back in time. He starts spinning around the sun to ungay his kid.
It's like Homer putting Bart in front of the smoking ad.
We just need a book of Clark constantly noticing a limp wrist and being like, put him up for adoption. Adoption.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
You better not. Daniel Beatty. The longer they wait to do a great reset, the more the problem perpetuates itself, the less likely they are to do so.
That's correct.
That's the thing that I was always told in the military. Bad news never ages well. It's not wine. It only gets worse with time. And you should always address bad news. If you know something isn't working, you should try and fix it immediately and not let it try to work itself out over time if you know that it just isn't working. But they are not taking that approach.
Well,
no.
It's a bunch of people who refuse to accept that their approach was bad. So they just think that, look, there's a lot of it's often lefties, but they never are willing to accept that they had a bad idea. They just believe they haven't been allowed to do enough of it yet. Commies think the same thing.
Well, I mean, I can't speak to political affiliations, but let's pick on DC for a minute and look at who DC is promoting as their top tier writers. It's Tom King, it's Tom Taylor, it's Ron V. It's like all these people whose names you recognize, and in every single one of them, they've made some tragic, disastrous mistakes for their runs, and then when you call them on it, they just double down.
Mm-hmm.
Oh no, that's
or Tom King blames it on somebody else. It was
blames it on somebody else.
Fault.
Or they're saying, no, you don't understand. The sales are actually great. There's a good Tom Taylor one right there, right? They're Ron V. Oh, I can tell stories forever. You just don't get it, right? You see that excuse.
The problem is you tell the story forever. You forgot to actually tell the story.
Forgot to end it.
You understand the mentality and the mindset of the leadership by the mentality and the mindset of the people they hire. So if all of their top tier writers are of the same mindset that they're telling the story that you need to read, that the story that they're giving you is better than what you thought you wanted, and perpetuate this kind of I can do no wrong mindset, that is reflective of the leadership. And so as long as that leadership has that mindset, no matter what happens, they are not going to accept that they made some wrong turns and course correct. We'll talk about that if we get to the Ultimate Spider-Man thing in a minute, but yeah, it's the same mentality in Marvel as well.
Wraith X7, you can easily fix Marvel and DC by just retconning and ignoring stories that damage characters. For example, retcon Iceman being gay and ignore it. Well, DC tried that with DC Rebirth, where they basically said, you know what, we're going to have the best version of every single hero. What's the one thing that people will like from these heroes? And we'll put them all in the exact same universe and we'll figure it out. And the problem is they just moved away from it. They left it after about 18 months.
Yep. That's what I was going to say. You can fix it. You can fix your problems, but whether or not they're going to stick with it, I mean, we're seeing that they don't. So,
well, it's often because
it's perpetually there's always a retcon or we got New 52. Oh, then there's Rebirth, and then there's Secret Wars, and then which it only works if they can maintain it. And I just don't know if restarting is the answer, if it's just going to be the same people or the same editors or creators on it. I sort of feel like instead of restarting things, they just need to work around it or just kind of like fix it within continuity if they can. But also I think the answer is more Black Label books, more books out of continuity, more books that don't necessarily have to be so dependent upon what is actually happening in the universe, because those have been the best books that DC's been putting out, or like the Elseworld stuff. So I would do that.
Green Lantern, Al Jordan, Alan Scott Green Lantern. It should be an Elseworld book. It's about as
Yeah.
relevant to Superman as Red Sun is.
Right.
You
I mean,
know
the
what I
Rob V Aquaman DC Black Label book was awesome. I mean, that's like, I don't know why that's not in continuity, but I liked it.
Well, he was a little different there. There's some stuff about that book that was Andromeda. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
The Sphere ripoff.
The Sphere was a terrible movie. That's a good book. Didn't Cassandra Cain get Shazam powers in Deceased? Is so she can beat Echo with Phoenix, in my opinion. So Deceased isn't in the mainline continuity. Deceased is its own little Elseworlds universe.
And I like that. I like that.
Also, I'd still say Phoenix beats Shazam personally.
Ooh, I don't know. See, that's a good.
Yeah.
Not in the Phoenix Force to stop Superman level hero.
Yes.
There you go.
It can
Sorry,
rip them
Ken.
apart at the atomic level.
Yeah.
James Hannafin, John Kent, Tim Drake, Loser is power bottom. Well, it's not very competitive. It's John Kent for the win.
Yeah.
I mean,
Listen,
Well, what if he uses a kryptonite condom like they said in
no, it's fight to see who gets to do whatever.
Tim Drake versus Bobby Drake for
Yeah,
power
my
bottom.
goodness.
Oh, jeez.
The Drakes.
I'm moving
This
on.
conversation really bottomed out.
Let's
Yeah.
let's
Get it.
next.
Kenneth Daly, part one. With the last round, and keep in mind, Mikey has grown larger, stronger, and privately trained, more intense than ever. He kills all PQ and fighters in the last round and easily. If Batman is going to survive, he would need that special suit he used to fight Superman. Without, sadly, for Batman, Michelangelo the last round and wins.
I agree.
The mechanical suit is the big X factor from The Dark Knight Returns because it is there.
Yep.
Take some Bane venom and just mainline
But
it.
it
Get huge.
wasn't it like messed up. It didn't, right?
He had to plug it into the power grid.
Yeah, the Gotham Power Grid.
It was literally, it was like a vacuum cleaner. Yeah, he had to plug it in. It didn't work whenever he was disconnected from the grid. It didn't have batteries. It didn't hold a charge. It was.
You would have think
It's not-
Wayne Corp would have developed some good battery.
It was the
technology for that.
'80s, man.
They need the Elon Musk of fucking Wayne Corp or Wayne Tech, whatever it is. But I'm with you. I'm with you, Kenneth. I personally believe on a physical and training level, Michelangelo from the last round could probably take Bruce Wayne as Batman from the Dark Knight Returns. But the mechanical suit is sitting out there that made him be able to fight Superman, which certainly would be able to withstand the force of Michelangelo.
Yeah.
It's the big X factor sitting there. And thank you very much for supporting the channel. We do have one more thing we need to talk about. This was probably the stupidest thing I've seen in a long time, Doc. And you love to talk about stupid stuff, so I'm going to throw this one to you first. But Eric Palicki he made like the most innocuous, random, not so much random, but inoffensive tweet ever. We need rock stars in comic books because rock stars draw people into comic books. And so many people got mad about this one. They got literally offended, Doc. How did that happen? Oh my goodness, Doc is
What's
on the
that?
break, isn't he?
What? No,
You're
I'm right
choking
here.
down heaters?
No, I just took my headphones off for a second. I couldn't. My ears were. itchy.
Well, I was
What
talking
was
to
the
you
question?
specifically. Eric
Fuck.
Palicki had that email.
Oh, yeah,
that
yeah.
There's nothing to it, and people
Look.
lost their freaking minds.
Well, he's not wrong. I mean, look, do I think he's mostly a moron? Yes, but every once in a while, you know, broken clocks are right twice a day too, and he's right. Look, you can't. The music industry needs fucking rock stars. The idea that the comic industry doesn't, the movie industry needs movie stars. We need comic stars. And guess what? There ain't fucking any in comics anymore. And you know what? If all the rock stars were only out there putting out indie works that they were printing and only selling on vinyl and only at their club shows that they're going to. If Taylor fucking Swift, as much as I think she is a overrated hack, if all she did was vinyl that was sold at little tiny clubs that she is the only places she would perform, guess what? The music industry would have a fucking problem. Which is what is happening right now. Mark Miller as great as he is, Rick Remender, as great as they are, all they're doing is small indie, club scene type, comics. And while they're trying to be huge, it's like trying to do it when you're not, when you can't use the keys of G and F or some shit like that, which is the limit that they're on with not working on the characters that everybody really does care about, which are the big two ones. So yes, comics needs rock stars, and it needs the rock stars in the right fucking places. Right now, they're not.
Well, I mean, every time I see Eric Palicki's name come up, and I'm sure he's an okay guy, I got no beef with him, but every time I see his name came up, I always want to say, why can't you be more like your sister? So
pretty.
Yes. Right. So that is that. But I think part of the challenge with the statement that he made is I don't think everybody has a common understanding of what a rock star needs to be for the comic industry. I think people will look, his peers, other comic pros, other comic writers and artists will look at that and say, okay, well, not everybody can be a Tom King. Tom King is not a rock star. I'm sorry. No, I mean, no disrespect. I mean, Yule, I know he's gonna push because he's got some.
Tom King's not even John Denver, dude.
And Tom Taylor's. They think of other comic pros. I'm fully convinced. Look at the phrase rock star, and they think, well, somebody who wins Eisners, or somebody who wins Ringos, or somebody who gets referenced in Comics Beat half the time. No, that's not a rock star. A rock star is somebody who can write a comic that sells out 6-figure numbers of copies per month and can do that consistently. That's a rock star. And I think that's the problem, is they have to redefine what they mean by rock star and then find people who can do that. And right now, there's not a lot of people. There's very few people who can do that. That's the challenge.
Anybody that you ask that isn't a complete maroon or an ideological weirdo in the comic industry, if you ask any normie to define what a comic book rock star would be, it's someone who gets a line around the building when they're doing a signing and showing up at a show that sells hundreds of thousands of copies of whatever product they're working on.
The image.
And that is almost bigger than the product they're working on. But when they're working on a big product, people go insane. Yeah. Like, I mean, legitimately insane.
The example you brought up earlier, let's pick on Taylor Swift. She's a rock star.
Yes,
but she's not a rock star because she has the greatest music in the world. This stuff is overproduced. It's very, it's very generic.
She moves units.
She sells out everywhere she goes. Yeah. That's why she's a rock star. Not because she has the best music, but because she sells out wherever she goes. That's what you need in comics when we say rock star. Somebody who can write a comic and you're going to get banger quality every single time. And that's what we don't have that right now.
We need Taylor Swift to write comics. Is that
absolutely? She's helping the Chiefs out.
Listen, don't you dare.
Well, I think
I was just gonna say, I don't think Marvel DC can allow it, because like rock stars are loud and they're opinionated, and
personality.
Yeah, like you have a personality, and age of social media, you can't have a personality. You can't like really voice what you really think necessarily, especially if you're working, for a company that wouldn't agree with you or whatever. And so I just don't think it's really allowed anymore. And most people just, if they're putting out good books, they don't really care about, people just liking them because they like them. They care about like the story itself. But they tried with like celebrities trying to get people to write comics, and like Keanu Reeves, who I adore, who I love, but like it's like I don't know, I don't feel like that's sustainable, or it really makes much.
Best-selling comic issue in the last 20 years. Berserker number 1.
But the problem is, this is stupid. This is very stupid. The last time they allowed a culture or cult of personality to develop a group of rock stars, that's when Image happened. That's when a bunch of people took their ball and they split off. And still to this day, you have people within Marvel that don't like people to get too big for their britches because they're
Yeah.
afraid they're going to have another image on their hands.
And they
Exactly.
don't
That's
even want
stupid.
I mean, like
that's
Sean
why-
Gordon Murphy, like he's one of the closest, I think, rock stars, but he's someone that kind of goes and he's doing his own thing, and he doesn't necessarily fit in the system. But
Well, not only that, but they reacted so poorly to the Image guys, like the Image 7, that they actually went the entire other direction, and then they built up all the writers, and then they saw all the writers all go and do big stuff at Image as well, with Brubaker, Miller, other than Bendis, a lot of those other guys from that era all do big projects on the indie scene. And now they're not even hiring. They don't even want the big name writers anymore.
I think
because they can leave.
I don't know. I think Rockstar is maybe a more of a dated allegory for this. I think what we really need are like sports
influencers. We need the Jake Paul and
There you
Logan
go.
Paul of God balls.
No, I mean allegorically.
Mr.
I mean,
Beast.
I want to see like a better baseball team out there. You have a pitcher with, you have 4 different pitchers with 4 different styles and talents, but they all wear the same uniform. They all have the same goal: is to pitch strikeouts and to win games. And I think
I want them competing against
and
each
that's
other.
why nobody watches fucking baseball.
No, Wes, no. Oh, hey.
Does A
calm
on
that
my
down,
forehead stand for a-hole? What?
Don't you talk about my Phillies like that. Anyway,
If we're being honest, the closest we've had to an actual rock star in comics recently was probably Donny Cates before he went off the deep end.
crazy.
Because there was a period of time, there's like a 2-year period where Donny Cates was the talk. Like if he was doing something, people were interested and they were going to look at it.
He got in a car accident. Poor guy.
I mean, there's way more than that.
There's more, yeah, that's not the
A
only thing.
lot more than that.
Yeah,
Well,
but Wes, you're right about what you're suggesting, but at the same time, you're right for a different reason. Part of it is the rock stars. It's the people that can write a story that's compelling, that people love, that they can't get enough of, that they're
That
hungry
puts
for.
asses
They
in
keep coming.
seats.
Right, but
Headliners.
also they need that hype man. They need that Jim Lee or somebody that's at the publishers that are getting people excited about what they're publishing. They don't have any of that kind of person either at Marvel or DC right now. There's nobody you can say this is the face of Marvel and they're hyping stuff and they're getting people excited and they're trying to get butts in that LCS. There's nobody expending any energy to get people excited for what those companies are producing. And that's also a problem.
Hold on, fellas.
Tim Sheridan tried.
Oh, God.
A lot of people, I guess, want to hear about the Spider-Man stuff. So I
All right,
completely
fine.
understand that. A lot of people probably didn't even realize this debate was going on. It was mostly comic pros getting butthurt.
That's what I was about to
That they suck
want to
and
come
can't move
close.
units.
Yeah, they can't because
So-
they can't. They can't.
Ladies and gentlemen, I want to hear Gabe on the Spider-Man. Okay, Gabe. Why don't you want Peter and MJ back together?
I have been a Spider-Man fan since I was a wee lad. We talked about, how people get into comics early on. I had one of those Penguin books, the little paperbacks, where it had like the first 3 to 5 stories. I forget exactly. And I dog-eared the hell out of that thing. I've Spider-Man since the beginning. So when they say Peter and MJ have been separated since One More Day and what that feels like to a fan, beyond being a reviewer, I'm a Spider-Man fan, and I would love to see them back together. When I saw that announcement yesterday, my gut in my soul reaction was, you son of a bitch. It feels like such a fake cheat. They're giving you what you want, but not really giving you what you want because it's the Ultimates. And we all know that as long as it's an Ultimate kind of side book that isn't really in the mainline continuity, there's every chance in the world it won't last forever. It'll just be this thing on the side that won't stick. And then eventually what happens is because, interest will wane as they do with all side books that aren't main continuity. Then you can have that, insufferable personality. Mr. Nick Lowe is going to come back and say, see, we gave you what you want, but you didn't buy it because the story will be maybe up or down. It'll be hit or miss. And who knows why. There could be any kind of number. And then they'll come back and say, see, stop asking me for the marriage because we gave you the marriage and you didn't want it because you didn't buy it. And I feel like that's a backdoor CYA cheat to kind of make sure that it never really happens in reality in the mainline 616 continuity. And even though people are like, well, I'll take it, Even if it's the Ultimates, I'll take it. To me, that seems like we're accepting crumbs, that they're just giving us the sloppy seconds.
I would
Just-
mind a little
and we'll
side
take it.
universe with 3 or 4 books where I don't have to read.
If you want Peter and
fucking
MJ back
Colin
together in
Boyd,
616,
Jackson Isaac.
if you want Peter and MJ back together in 616, do not settle. I think this is them trying to trick us into settling, and to me that seems grimy. And I just, it just gets me right there. It just it feels grimy and cheap.
I was over the moon. I still am, man. I'm excited for it.
Now, if you want
First
to,
I get Marco Cicchetto on a Spider-Man book, and now I get MJ and Peter back together.
it's not going to be
with 2
forever.
kids? Perfect.
I know. I can guarantee you, Cicchetto's not going to be on that book forever. I guarantee it. He's going to come off eventually at issue 4, issue 5. Who knows when?
Well,
And then when he comes off,
Super Sons
then-
only lasted 24 issues.
and then how long before the editorial starts coming in with whatever Hickman's doing and starts meddling and starts fiddling? They did it before. They're going to do it again. And how long before they start meddling that things just start falling off a cliff? And then what if it goes away? If it goes away, then it didn't count. And then people are just going to be going right back to complaining about why Peter and MJ are back together. It's a cheat. It's fake. And it just gets me right in my gut when I see stuff like that, because I just want to, Nick Lowe, I just want to
Grab him by the balls and twist him.
No, I wouldn't say something like that in front of Eric. So
Yeah,
just
my blueberries.
He's
Come
got
on.
the virgin ears.
yeah, he's still healing. I get it. It feels like you're getting thrown a bone, but to me, it's just a bone. They're not really making changes that would make customers happy. It just feels like they're just giving you some kind of cheap knockoff.
Alternative.
It's a cheap knockoff. That's all it is.
I
And
still enjoyed the Maestro books, even though I know it's not the real Hulk. It was good
I'm a
series.
highly suspect that they'll do it, but it won't stick around. And if it doesn't stick around, we're going to be right back where we are. And now that just empowers Marvel to say, "Look, we gave you what you wanted, but you didn't buy it."
Yep.
And that just makes things worse. And
Eric,
I'm just-
you have to be
I
with
don't
me.
feel-
You're
it's a
the,
trap.
you're
It
the
feels like a
one guy
trap.
on the panel that's going to be classes half full on this, like me, where I'm like, yeah, this is what I wanted. Thank you very much. It's even a better artist and writer than you have on the mainline Spider-Man book.
And well, okay, I'm going to show my age here a bit, but I remember Peter before Mary Jane. I remember Peter in the 70s, in the early 80s, before they
What
really.
the hell does this have to do with what
Hook
we're
them up.
talking about?
Well, because I remember Peter worked before MJ, before he was before we had this eternal conversation about Peter's marital state, and we were just talking about this with Batman, because we're continually comparing Batman with his relationship with Selena. There's Spider-Man, and there's Peter Parker, and there's adventures. So I don't know. I mean, like when it comes to MJ in this Ultimate Universe, I'm all for it. Sure. I mean, it looks like they're trying to do the Incredibles, but in a Marvel background, and I can see Peter as being like Mr. Incredible, and then all the kids and the wife being a little smarter than him and solving things, as a family. I think that's cute. It's nice.
Why are you
I'm-
turning me on this one, Eric?
I don't know. Well,
That's
also,
not what's
I'm-
going to happen. He's not going to be he's not going to be the Homer Simpson of the book.
or it could be just a setup, because I mean, Ultimate Universe is kind of vicious. I mean, what if you end the family and make him like Spider Punisher? Can't you see like the Punisher logo with the spider thingy, man, and wearing black and like evil Pete?
You're not selling me here, man.
Dude, I'm all into it. But
You're going total doc.
I don't know. I'm a big fan of the original Ultimate Spider-Man. I've got most of it, and I'm looking forward to seeing how they handle it, because Ultimate Spider-Man originally wasn't a dark kind of comic book. It was light, and it had some good energy behind it, and that's on brand for Ultimate Spider-Man. So I'm hoping that they can do something here.
And let's also be honest about why they're doing this and why they're doing this now. I suspect a large part of the motivation for making this happen is because there was so much positive buzz coming out of the Spider-Verse movie, where you saw Peter B. Parker, and he had the budgie thing in the front when he was carrying little May around and doing that whole thing. I bet you're going to see a panel with that exact same imagery show up in probably the first few issues. So all they're doing is they're just trying to capitalize on the hype that came out of the Spider-Verse movie, and they more than likely don't have some major grand master plan for the. They're just trying to ride the trend. Is all
You
they're
think
doing.
it should be called Ultimate Panderman #1?
Oh yeah, yes.
Oh, you guys are the worst.
No. I was
How do
gonna.
I put up with these people, Nader?
I was I was gonna say, Wes, like I'm with you. I've like honestly, and I don't, I don't care. I'm gonna say it. This comic is like one of the most exciting comics I've ever been excited for. So like I'm so excited because I love Hickman so much, and I read Ultimate Invasion, and it was one of my favorite comics of this year, if not my favorite comic this year. I love the story. I love the idea that we're not really in the same Ultimate universe. It's not going to be the same, angsty early 2000s, kind of vibe to it. I love how it feels more optimistic, more like we're going to do something that is lighter in a lighter tone. And I mean, great writer, great artist. Peter with his family. So so many people have wanted that for so long. And even though it is in the Ultimate universe, I think people should buy the book so that they tell Marvel, this is what we actually want. This is what we want you guys to do in the 616 universe.
Yeah, Marvel Knights saved Marvel back in the day, right?
And
Yeah.
Ultimate Marvel did save Marvel, the publisher at the time, because it actually did move a lot of units. So now that being said, I don't care. It's not real Spider-Man. It's them throwing me a bone. Just it's no different than if they were to do a handful of additional,
I thought you liked symbiote Spider-Man.
Yeah, I do. However, it's the same thing. It doesn't matter. It can't matter because it's not the mainline universe.
He comes into 616 after 2 years and murders the real Peter Parker and takes over.
Then it's still not the real Peter Parker. It's like
the current Superman is not the real Superman. The current Captain America is not the real Captain America.
Yeah, I mean, saying who's real, I don't know. That's so. I don't know.
But that's really Alan Scott. Don't question. That's not a retcon.
It's at the end of the day, people still remember. That's not the real character. Now they could try as they might.
I think they forgot about Superman.
They forgot about a lot of things.
Well, nobody brings up Cap, right? He's not the Hail Hydra Cap.
No, they ignore that until it's time to trot it out for another plot line. And they ignore, like, there's a lot of things that they currently just ignore until it's time to trot it out for another plot.
All right, Doc, am I wrong here? I've said, Marvel, please throw me a bone, make a book that I'd actually want to read.
No,
but it's got one of my favorite artists. It's got a plot line that I've wanted to see. Thank you for the bone. I'm going to eat it.
I mean, that's
even though it's $6, it's probably $1.
And Hickman, like, if you've read his Fantastic Four and his FF and any of his really great Marvel books, I mean, it's all about family. And like, I love this. I think this is perfect for him. He's great with a large cast of characters, and he's great with father-son stories. We've seen that in the past, and I mean, I think he's gonna knock it out of the park, but we'll see.
I think he's gonna do well. Am I excited for the book? Yes. Will I read the book? Yes. My only concern is the fact that if they're doing it in the Ultimates universe just tells me that Marvel's not committed to it, and I think that's the problem. Now, if you would put this team on the mainline Spider-Man book in the 616 universe and said, "Hey, this is what we're doing," I think you would have way more people way more excited about it.
Yes. Instead of it being obviously just trying to throw a bone to placate without committing to it. Look, you want us to commit to buying your shit, commit to giving us something that we're actually going to want to fucking read. And we want to read the main universe. Everything else is gravy. It's the 616 is still fucking steak. And yeah, we like the potatoes, we like the corn, we like all the stuff that goes next to it. That's fine. That's fine, but we don't go to the fucking steakhouse to get a potato. And right now, that's what they're giving us. They're giving us a potato. Which
I go to Red Lobster to get the cheddar biscuits. I don't care.
I mean, when this first came out, I for some reason I had a bunch of memes just went through my mind. I keep thinking of that one where the kids are out with the mom and like, "Mom, we're out. Can we go get something to eat? Can we get dinner when we're out?" She said, "We have dinner at home." And you get home at home. This is what you get. Or this is like the Spider-Man marriage you bought on Wish. I mean, this is the kind of stuff that's popping up. It's fake.
You
It's
guys are
not
cynical
real.
bastards. That's all I can say.
I
You
am.
know what? True,
given us-
true.
they-
But you know what? You know why?
It's
Because
earned.
Marvel trained us to be cynical. Marvel
earned
trained
it.
us to be cynical. Yes.
I think the
Yeah, I don't
Ultimate
really care
Universe
about the
trained us
mainline
to be
universe right
cynical
now.
too.
It's so bad. I prefer that it's not in there, so they can't ruin it with whatever stupid event that every Spider-Man issue has to tie into. I'd like. that
Yeah,
it's gonna
I
be
mean,
a real thing.
I'm glad it's not, Zeb Wells doing it. I'm glad it's not a part of his run. It's
Sure,
like I'll take this.
I'll see what happens. Let's hear from the people because we do have to start wrapping this bad boy up. We are going to go a little bit long today. Kenneth, with Ultimate Spider-Man 1, I was afraid they were going to use a different person to be Spider-Man, like a Miles Morales. When I saw the picture and read that he'd be married to MJ, I felt a little better. I felt a lot better. I felt good when they said Chichetto's on the book. And obviously, when you saw the original Spider-Man, it's like, well, that's the Peter Parker Spider-Man costume. It looks just like him. And then, Hickman had already kind of confirmed that it was going to be Peter's Parker. So,
Look, if you like it, you like it. I'm not going to tell you not to like it, but just for me personally, it feels.
you're trying to peer pressure me into
No,
sabotaging something I want, Gabe.
You asked my opinion. I'll give you my opinion. It feels like a cheat. It feels fake.
And until Jonathan Hickman proves that he actually has the ability to run a line without either bringing in his horribly evaluated talent or kowtowing to editorial whenever they decide they just want to leave shit alone when he's actually doing something, I don't trust him. He has never managed to do it yet. So
I feel
he
like
has to
did
prove
that with Avengers and New Avengers, though, when he
was
left the Ultimate book, that he was on previously.
But he had been on Fantastic Four and then he moved to Avengers and New Avengers, but he didn't have to work with anyone. He didn't. At no point during that entire 4-year, 5-year long run
he did work with Spencer on Avengers World, which I thought was a good book. But
and that was only after they turned Avengers World into actually no, yeah, you're right on that one. Was that the second attempt?
But also look at what Hickman's done lately. I mean, that's what it always comes down to is what have you done lately? I look at Ultimate Invasion, which was the 4-part miniseries, which ended in weird, chaotic nonsense. I don't even know what he's trying to do there, which is supposed to get everybody hyped for these Ultimate lines. And then he also had God's #1, which was ridiculously overpriced. And when you read that issue, it was just a weird Doctor Strange knockoff that didn't really do much of anything. So if I look at, if you,
God's one was disappointing.
Yeah, and if you look at these are two recent things where he was given, and Marvel just said, do what you want. Presumably, just do what you want. And then I look at what he does because he did without interference, not impressive, not at all. So I also have to take that into account as well. Just because it says Hickman Hickman's name is on the title doesn't mean it's going to be great.
All right, Keta says, now to be honest, Ultimate Spider-Man does seem similar to Renew Your Vows, which I didn't care for. But reading more about it, the take is different. I'm still cautious, but it has me more interested. I'm removing the cautiously optimistic. I'm just optimistic about the book. I think I'm going to like it. I think this is
and I think it's so cool that it's not like from what we've seen, what they've said, it's like Peter Parker becomes Spider-Man after he becomes a father, which I think is really interesting. It's not like he's been Spider-Man for a really long time. So I think
that means his kids aren't going to have spider powers.
Right. And so they'll be a little bit, maybe more vulnerable. Like he has to protect.
No
them.
Mayday.
That'd be interesting.
So no Mayday.
Don't say that to Tevi out loud because he's going to start crying. He's been waiting for Mayday return for a long time. When she was in Renew Your Vows, right?
Yeah.
And there was something after that they did in that. I can't remember.
Well, they did multiple Renew Your Vows miniseries.
Yeah, they kept going back to that one. I'm not cautious. I'm optimistic. I think this thing is going to be good. Chichetto on Spider-Man is going to be awesome.
It's not a question about whether or not it's good. It's just whether or not it'll last. And that's where I'm highly skeptical.
I think if it's successful, it'll last. Now, will it be Jonathan Hickman on it the whole time? Nothing. No one ever stays on a book anymore. Definitely thank you very much to Stephen Erasmus. Really appreciate supporting the channel. I know you got a question coming here soon. First, Kenneth, I definitely agree with Josh on Dottie Cates. I was really into his stuff. I was enjoying his store run. It had great momentum. Yeah, he was doing stuff with Thor.
Yep.
He was going somewhere.
Yeah, I mean, he had Venom, he had Thor. Like there was a good build up. Even some of his indie stuff was getting a lot of attention. And then
I did not like his Hulk.
I didn't care for his Hulk
Hulk
either.
was a stupid idea.
No, I didn't
And
get
then
that. no.
he decided to start kind of going crazy and being a psycho on social media, and there you go.
His Marvel Knights also sucked, but every one of those issues he was co-writing with somebody else. That might not have been his fault. It was like him and Tini Howard or Kelly Thompson.
And someone asked about Scott Snyder, and I would say no, because even when Scott Snyder was at his peak writing Batman, he was writing other books that did not sell. It was just that was a magic book.
Yeah, when
it
he
was
did like New
Batman.
Challengers, like I think that was one of the worst selling of all the New Age of Hero books.
Yeah, his Superman Unchained didn't sell. That was during his Batman run. He also had Talon that he tried to boost. That didn't. He had a lot of stuff fizzle out.
Find me a writer that can do 6-figure sales on Firestorm. That's somebody I can get behind.
Well, that's pretty hard in today's environment. But I like Firestorm. I could use some more Firestorm in my life.
Hell, I'd settle for in this market. I'd settle for a writer that could get you to mid 5 figures.
Yeah,
On Blue Devil.
Steven
On Blue Devil.
Erasmus. Only a year left, and then the Third World War will start. What a waste of potential. Is that a comic event, or are we having a real world? Hopefully, you don't make it to World War III. That would be that would not be very much fun. Lane Kramer says, well, by Gabe's logic, MJ will run around as Scream.
Wouldn't surprise me.
Wouldn't surprise me either.
Well, she's already running around as Jackpot. I think Hickman knows that's a dumb idea.
Running around on PETA too with that Paul dude.
Well, she's
And
running
I'm
around
really hoping
as
that Hickman takes it as a personal challenge to make Zeb Wells look stupid.
well, she's running around as Scream in the Spider-Man 2 video game that just came out.
Oh, I don't do video games, but I did see that she looks very mid.
Yeah, that's a whole other conversation.
Mr. DC Comics, I think MJ and Peter Parker are only getting back together to have their version of John Kent. Miles Morales will be mentoring Peter Parker kid. Superman is the dad now, so Spider-Man has to be a dad.
So you think their kid's going to be like a lesbian or a trans? Is that what you're saying?
Well,
Yes.
What he's saying is he had the kids before he got the powers, so he wouldn't have transferred the powers like to John Kent. So hopefully it'll be like a different type of superhero family story.
It also doesn't make sense that he ever would have gotten with MJ if he didn't have the powers in the first place, because the powers are what let his personality
MJ never really
out.
liked Peter
But she didn't know him before his powers.
in the Ultimate Universe.
No, in any universe. She didn't know him before his powers. She met him when he was like 18, 19. He got his powers at 15.
Yeah, but this is a different universe where he gets the powers after he's met her.
I understand that. She never, because she wouldn't have dated pre-powers Peter Parker. Pre-powers Peter Parker was an introvert that was absolutely terrified of everybody's opinion of him. He didn't let his personality out, and he didn't relax and actually develop a reasonable personality. Peter Parker without powers turns into a school shooter.
Oh, shit.
Well, it's maybe in the 616, but this is a different universe, so it's a different version of Peter, Doc. We haven't met him yet.
Okay, so then he's not Peter Parker.
Yeah, he's not Peter Parker. He's the ultimate universe is Peter Parker. He's a different version of the character. It's supposed to be different, right?
Well, I guess we'll find out.
We should find out. But I don't. Maybe they're trying to copy what they did with Superman, but it sounds like the kids won't have powers. But we'll see. Maybe one of them will get bitten by a radioactive spider too. Keda says, Wes, I know you love non-powered heroes, but you went with the Last Roman over Dark Knight Returns. I was pleasantly surprised. Thank you, sir. I love all heroes, although I am partial to non-powered heroes. But I think Last Roman would definitely get him. He's definitely physically more capable than Bruce in the Dark Knight Returns. Stephen Erasmus, he meant Third World War mistype. They are panicking now. They are destroying and tearing down faster. This is why comics are being attacked. The left are desperate. Your thoughts? I don't think they're trying to tear down comic books to start World War III.
I think there's a good quote by Captain America in this week's issue of Uncanny Avengers that he supports all of us getting along and talking to each other and coming together. And it was actually a really good character moment from Jerry Duggan. I'll say that much. How's that?
I would say everybody's most people that have tied themselves down to a side are kind of desperate right now. It's just kind of weird. It's weird being in the middle. You know what I'm saying? What do you think, Josh? You seem like you're in the middle.
Yeah, I'm in the middle.
You think we're going to be sitting here while World War III kicks off because these guys can't get in a room and talk to each other like human beings?
So there are people that work in military intelligence that if you ask their opinion on World War III, their response is going to be that we are already in World War III, but it will never be called World War III. It's just going to be a pocket of micro wars taking place like they already are.
Micro wars?
Yep. So instead of you having like... yeah, and I don't know. Yeah.
I was in military intelligence, and that's not how I would have characterized it, but I guess we all have our own perspective on things. Hopefully World War III doesn't happen. Hopefully we're not in it right now. That's the big hope, but got to get better eventually. Derpy Hodgington, thoughts on the other two Ultimate books? I'm excited for Stefano Caselli and Brian Hill on Ultimate Black Panther. I think that's a great idea, and I think Peach Momoko on Ultimate X-Men is more of a crapshoot, and we'll see what happens. But I'm excited for all three of them.
Yeah, I'm going to get all three day one.
I'm in just for Momoko art. I would just pick that up just because I love her artwork. So.
Yeah.
I have no interest. I liked her on a fantasy X-Men story. I have no interest in her writing like straight X-Men, or drawing it. Her style doesn't fit.
You know they're not straight X-Men anymore. Come on.
I mean, I personally, I am interested to see what they do with Ultimate Black Panther because Black Panther hasn't been right for a while. I mean, John Ridley's run was terrible. The current run under E-Viewing is not much better. So I'm curious to see if they can at least do an Ultimate.
Ta-Nehisi run was really bad too.
Yeah, I mean,
Gabe apparently liked that one though, so he's leaving it.
Listen, hey, I'll talk to you after with that stuff. Don't you dare put words in my mouth. Yeah, Black Panther hasn't had any decent representation. Weird as that sounds, for a long time. So I'm curious to see if somebody can do a better job with them.
I'm excited for a little pocket universe for me to go and bury my head into, so I don't have to go read most of the crap in the mainline book. Although I am enjoying very much Incredible Hulk right now, which is fantastic. If you are not reading that one. Yeah. Keda says, Gabe, Josh, and Doc, you all have valid criticisms. Wes, Eric, and Nandor, I share your enthusiasm. If this book is not only successful, but more successful than the main book, it will change the game. Have a great one, guys. I agree. Put your money where your mouth is. If you want Peter Parker and Mary Jane to be together, then the 616 go support the book where they're together and see what happens.
Yeah, I mean,
money
because
talks and bullshit walks.
You've seen that like with the original Ultimate line. I mean, you've seen how Marvel has taken in the main universe, how they've taken things from the Ultimate universe and incorporated them into the main line, and then also incorporated it into the movies. So to say that the Ultimate universe wouldn't have any ramifications for 616 or whatever Marvel would do in the future, I think would be a little short-sighted, because I think if it works and it's good storytelling, and if it sells, if people are there to buy it and they enjoy it, and if they can maintain it, that is the question. I mean, that's the the elephant in the room. It's like, can they maintain this? But if you can, and if they can do it, and they add more books to this line, and it starts to really grow and become its own universe, who knows? This might replace the 616 universe. I don't know. That, I mean, you know, you'll see how they could incorporate some of these things into it. I mean, they brought Miles into 616, which is pretty crazy. So, I mean, it can kind of transcend universes.
This is literally the exact conversations that were occurring in 2002, because there was the exact same talk about, well, the mainline universe is floundering. This is something new. This is what's drawing people in. The Ultimate Universe will replace the 616, and this will be the new Marvel Universe. They'll just stop publishing the Marvel Universe, and instead, what they did was they imported all the creatives from the Ultimate Universe into the 616. They imported all the ideas. From the 616 or the Ultimate Universe. So the reason why you have Cap wearing like what Eric's wearing right now, instead of wearing the scale mail, and having the wings on the head.
I miss the wings. Yeah.
But no, I mean, look, they took all of this stuff, they imported all of it from the Marvel Universe, and then they ended up copying it. They copied mostly the Ultimate Universe for the start of the MCU, and then they imported the variations on the variations into the 616 again. So it's not going to replace it. It's just going to end up more ways that's going to influence it. It's their test bed for shit that's eventually going to get done in the 616. And then you're going to get even further from the core of the 616 that people actually wanted to read.
And also, to your point, you're right. They took some of the pieces that worked, and the creatives, but also the creative concepts that worked, and brought them in. But what are the big ones that still stand out after all these years? You got the Maker, which Hickman brought back because he's rebooting the Ultimate line. And you have Miles. But what are the other big ideas that came out of the Ultimates that are still stick around besides like costume changes and a few other things? Pretty much that's it.
Children of the Vault.
I
don't think it's sticking.
Yeah, but I mean, so for all that bluff and bluster and all the things that occurred out of that, really, it's just those two main characters that still stick. And even then, after all this time, as much as Miles gets a lot of love, he's still seen by and large as the
Nick Fury's the
Black Nick Fury.
I'd even say like Hawkeye. I mean, at least in the MCU, but like when we think of Hawkeye, we kind of think of the way
a lot of the stuff regarding the Avengers in movies is lifted from the Ultimates rather than Avengers comics. Right. Absolutely.
But I'm talking about the comics. I mean, there's only small chunks of things that still persist. And so the only reason Spider-Man worked and you were able to merge that in is because it was a wholly different character. So if we look at going back to the Spider-Man conversation of, Peter and MJ are married and they have kids, there is no way to merge that back in. There is no way to incorporate that back into 616 if the Ultimates line goes away. Unless
they'll do it the same way they did it in fucking Secret Wars and making Miles part of the 616. They just shove them in there and say it's always been that way.
So you're going to have two Peters and two MJs running around?
No, they'll probably just
merge them like they did with Superman.
Yeah, but the way they do that, you have to have some kind of big bang, some kind of like event, some kind of.
There's an event every 3 weeks.
Yeah.
You think that's going to stop them?
I just want to see what it's like before we decide they should replace everything.
I wouldn't put anything past Nick Lowe at this point. But at the same time, to me, that seems like too far even for him.
All right. Frank says, I wonder how many people will drop both Catwoman and Batman after Gotham War completes. Is anyone ever going to address that she is an escaped convict? Well,
that's what we keep trying to tell
ramen noodle thing going on.
Batman, why are you with her? What's the deal?
I imagine a lot of people have actually dropped their Batman pull at this point because of Gotham War, because it's that bad. And I don't think a lot of people probably had Catwoman on their pull. The sales don't look very good. Nope. Comic Book Revolution has the Tini Howard award for a reason, because she constantly has that ongoing series well outside the top 100. But now Gotham War has been very harmful. Josh?
Yeah,
No,
The,
I agree. So for like one of the first times ever, I'm not picking up and reading Batman. Like that alone should
It's not
say
fair.
I'm sorry.
I'm reading Batman. You should have to read Batman. You're the Batman guy.
No, I'm good. Look, when it gets collected, I'll probably like rummage through it and force myself to read it. But as far as
rent it from the library.
I'm not. I can't.
All right, just
Yeah,
go
if-
to the
if
high
anything,
seas.
in a year of disappointments, Chip Zdarsky is turning out to be one of my biggest disappointments because
Agreed.
he had so much promise coming out of Daredevil that he could do some good stuff with a street level character. They put him on Batman. The fail-safe arc started off very strong.
Yep.
Was very impactful coming out of the gate. And then once he hit Bat God, the whole thing, when he's jumping down from the moon, it just fell apart. The whole thing fell apart. I don't know what happened to Zdarsky, but he had all the potential right there in his hand, and it's gone. I mean, now I think less of him as a creator because of what he's done on Batman. That's terrible to say, but it's true.
Yeah. Stephen Erasmus, thank you very much for supporting the channel. God foretold to the Cedar Van Rensburg that after America's Mars colony fails after a year, the war nuclear begins. This is because they want to destroy whites in the West, and they want to control the world. This political. Man, I hope nobody wants to destroy me with a nuclear war, man.
I was going to say the West.
I'm just a one person.
The West, the one and only.
The good thing about that is because the premonition or whatever you want to call it talks about the American colony on Mars. That's not going to happen in my lifetime. I won't even see it. It's so far for the future. But I don't know that there's a big conspiracy worldwide to just destroy whites. I don't buy into that one. I'm sure maybe some people feel like that here and there, but I don't actually think that's a thing personally. But
I just want somebody to try to nuke you personally.
that would be pretty. Like you just
Like
have to get
just
close.
you, like
You're
a
gonna-
pocket nuke where you can
Hopefully-
just throw it at
hopefully
somebody.
Somebody
And they just,
calling me the
Like
West instead of West.
The West.
Welcome
I'll
to
start
Thinking
calling you the
Critical.
West.
This is the West.
I will jump on board with that and call you the West.
The West.
Do you smell what the
Yes.
West is cooking? Oh man. Hopefully we don't see a nuclear war in our lifetime. That would be very difficult. Think about the last one and the
It would mess with the
technology has gone
Wi-Fi.
so
It
far.
really would.
Oh, fucking Wi-Fi would be gone. All our satellites would be done. You'd be fishing out of contaminated waters. It would be no fun. What do you think, Gabe? Are you ready for this?
For what?
For this
War?
big nuclear war after the American
that.
colony on Mars fails.
Well, you just covered so many topics. I got it lost in the moment there. Sure, why not? I'm always in favor of a status quo shakeup. Why not? Let's do it.
Let's see what happens. Let's roll the
Sure.
dice.
I just want to watch the world. I just want to watch the world burn. It's okay.
The real question is, Gabe, are you ready for the West?
Nobody's
He can't
ready for
handle the
West.
West. He's got
I can't
his
handle the
Jack
West.
Lantern shirt.
I can't handle the West. No.
Oh man! Thank you so much to everybody for joining us today. This one went a little bit longer, but I had a lot of fun talking about this stuff. Let's talk about some comic book recommendations. We'll start out with Nander. You've got the Kickstarter going on right now. You want to remind the peoples and maybe recommend a comic or two.
Yeah, so please check out the Fabled Offering on Kickstarter. That's my new book that is funding right now. We're at 60% funded. We got 20 days left, and it's about a princess who's on a quest to save herself. She's also pregnant, and she has to try to get to this ancient deity. And on her journey, she has to fight through a lot of hardships and overcome a lot of battles. And she has to get to this deity who she has to present an offering. It's a transactional agreement, but it's not necessarily guaranteed that this ancient deity will accept her offering. So please go check that out on Kickstarter. In terms of recommendations, I haven't been reading a whole lot of new stuff, but I finally was able to finish Seven to Eternity. Speaking of Rick Remender and Jerome Opeña in that book, I don't know if if you guys have read that book from Image, but it came out a few years ago, and I had started reading it. I kind of dropped off, but I picked it back up again, and it is one of my favorite comics of all time. Probably in my top 10, maybe. It was a beautiful book, a beautiful fantasy book that I would recommend. It so many themes, great themes about choice, compromise, and a very good character-driven story. And so, Androma Opinia's work is outstanding. So definitely go pick up Seven to Eternity. I think they came out with a deluxe hardcover, like omnibus of it, and it looks beautiful. So go check that out.
And I recommend you go check out The Sacrificers from Rick Remender.
Yes.
Three issues in. It's fantastic.
Okay, I will do that. Yeah.
Definitely do that. And thank you very much for joining us today. Who we got coming up? We got a game. Sometimes you're really easy to please, like with Predator, and sometimes you're not as easy to please, like with Ultimate Spider-Man #1. Are you recommending comic books this week?
I'm never going to outlive that Predator score, am I? I'm never going to.
No, very high.
I liked it. Book. I liked it. I liked the first issue. Anyway, so DC was a dumpster fire this week, so forget them.
It was bad.
Marvel had a couple okay books, but just okay. Nothing that I would tell people to go out of their way for. On the non-Big Two side, there are 3 titles that I would recommend for different reasons. First, Gunslinger Spawn #25 from Image. It feels like a one shot, but if you're kind of like, what is Gunslinger Spawn all about? He's badass from front to back on that issue. So if you want to get into these Spawn adjacent characters, pick up Gunslinger Spawn #25.
There is no Brett Booth art on that one though. It's the first issue with it's got
Dexter Soy.
Dexter Soy, and it actually
it's amazing.
Fantastic.
It is amazing. Conan the Barbarian #4 from Titan Comics with Jim Zub. He nailed that miniseries. I mean, if they were looking to kind of take Conan away from Marvel, put it with somebody who's kind of get back into that gritty Conan vibe, he nailed it. And that's the finale of his first arc. It's continuing. It's not ending, but it was great. And then the other one that I'm going to recommend, I'm a horror snob, and I'm particularly a monster horror snob. So if you get Dracula wrong, you're going to hear about it from me. James Tynion IV is picking up the Universal Monsters imprint over at Image. So he did a Universal Monsters Dracula #1, which is based on the original 1930s film. And he did a fantastic job with it, with Simmons as well. It looks great. It kind of homages the film without being like a shot-for-shot remake. And it's creepy and it's interesting and it's weird and it's horrific, which is great for horror. So if you like Dracula horror movies, that kind of thing, I would recommend Universal Monsters Dracula #1 from Image.
Very nice. I actually think that's sold out. I think they're going to a second printing right now too.
He did a good job on that. Tynion did a good job on that.
Very good planning, obviously, with Halloween and everything as well. Now we do have the Sultan of Soup himself, the king of cosplay in the house, Eric O'Sullivan.
Howdy.
Are you actually going to recommend people read Rec Rap? That's my big question.
No, actually.
Okay, good.
Here's the part, though. Here's the bad part. ASM just went up $1. It's now $4.99. Wes has been talking about this on the channel for a couple of weeks now. But if you look at it, it's literally 20 pages of art and story for $4.99. And that is probably the most disappointing part of that silly issue, too.
No backup. No backup.
Here is my ubiquitous brown paper flat bag from the Funny Book Bodega this week. I got comic books. This is
Doc,
what I
it's
bought.
the exact same bag, but it's full of porn.
Exactly. X-Men Days of
Even
Future
Doc
Past.
is shamed to walk around with that stuff.
This was all right. I like this. This
I'd be more
wraps up.
ashamed to buy what he's putting up right now.
Really? Oh, man, this was fine because it's got a penciler and an inker, and so the art's really tight. I mean, I like the wrap up. I like how it lands, and I don't mind Guggenheim. I mean, he's competent in the sea of incompetent writers. He's okay. And what else did I got Action Comics 1058. Yeah, this was good. 2 new backup features.
I thought it was good for 10 pages, and then it went nowhere.
It's okay. I mean, it's I'm just happy to be reading. I'm reading Superman and I'm reading Action. That's good. I'm reading DC Comics. I'm reading Superman again, dude. Rare Flavors #2 by Ram V and Felipe Andrade. This is an amazing comic book. It's very European. It's kind of like late 80s, early 90s Vertigo-ish, but the color palette in this, it's so selective and limited, and it's so stark and beautiful. Also, it's got to do with food, and I'm a chef, so I like that kind of stuff.
Awesome.
I got Sean Murphy's Plot Holes #3. Happy to support that. But I picked this up, Distillery, the first issue. This is Gone by Jock. It was for this is for $8.99. And I wanted to experience this as someone who buys floppies, who, this is this the future of the floppy? No ads, great paper stock, nice card stock cover, and nice binding. This is very much like one of those like the Indiegogos or the Kickstarters, very much kind of like that. But is this the future of the floppy? That's what I ask.
Was it worth $8? That's what I asked.
It's okay. It's still in issue one. It's still act one of a bigger thing. But I did pick up like
for $8, you should be like, there should be geek spooks around. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's okay. And it's a bigger format too. So it's more of a magazine style, closer to like a European style format. And it gives you more room to enjoy the art in a way, so it's not
more
cramped.
cinematic. Yeah.
But I wanted to try it out. This is Distillery's first offering. And
how many pages is it?
Oh,
it doesn't look thick.
It's not that thick. It's probably about 30 or so.
Yeah.
But then thank you for having me on. I'm glad it points off the bench.
Thanks for getting in costume, man. Really appreciate it.
It is the season.
Calvin Set says Radiant Black 26A and Radiant Black 26B, 2 different timelines.
Really?
Is that true? I'm not reading Radiant Black. Does it have 2 different stories on the A and B cover?
I don't even know.
I think that's kind of fucking funny.
It's answer your question, Wes. It's Gone #1 is 48 pages. So it's all story and art, and
that's not too bad.
No ads. It's not that bad.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's not too bad.
It doesn't look that thick when you were holding it, but
How much was it?
$8.99.
Okay, so it was overpriced.
Yeah, maybe, but it's
yes. 44 pages or 48 pages is a double-sized comic. It means it's $1 more than 2 individual comics.
But it's okay. I mean,
Is it like a sci-fi book or?
Yes.
Okay.
So Wes, you're saying that the size of Eric's hands makes it look less girthy?
Yeah, maybe Eric has enormous hands.
This is why I date petite chicks.
Josh, are you recommending any comics this week?
So I have Gone and I have Dracula. I haven't read them yet because I picked up my comics last night. I unfortunately read Alan Scott because I had to talk about it last night and I have regrets. Gabe, your 6 is a very generous 6 on your score for it. But
mine was the lowest score on Roundup.
I was going to say, and yours is the only one that's even remotely honest. And I think you gave some grace and some benefit of the doubt to Sheridan, which I think is a fair for an issue 1. Yeah. I read Captain America and I was really disappointed. I liked the first issue and I thought this one just really let me down. And then
it was weaker than the first one.
Yeah. There was a new indie book called The Prism that I picked up that it didn't connect with me. So unfortunately right now, other than Conan, I picked up Conan. Conan is still reliable and solid and good, and go read it.
Very nice. Doc, you recommended anything?
Let's see. I am going to recommend more old comics because nobody, the publishers could pay me and I won't recommend new comics. So we're going to go with Uncanny X-Men 307. This is the Pressman variant. It's got a gold background, like the gold paint or gold ink. And this was available this is one of 4 different Pressman variants from back in the early 90s with the X-Men board game. This was a mail away in order to get this one. So there. And here we go. Uncanny 266. First appearance of Gambit. Technically, the second appearance of Gambit, if we're being honest, because let's see, I think it was Uncanny X-Men Annual number 14 actually came out a week ahead that has Gambit in it. But this is the first time he's actually in a story and does literally anything at all. So, and this is, I think, what is this? It's, yeah, newsstand version. So go buy this. Go buy old comics instead. And then finally, we've got a wonderful J. Scott Campbell variant of X-Men Adjectiveless number 205. This is from the Endangered Species storyline. Is that what it is? Oh no, Messiah Complex. So this is the variant for it. There's a couple of covers for it. There's also a really dope Chris Bacalo second printing variant that has Storm on the cover, and she's being awesome. But this is, got some Emma drawn by J. Scott Campbell. Always a good day. So that's what I got.
Well, very nice. And I do want to say thank you very much to everybody for joining us. Have a wonderful Halloween weekend. And then if you're going to go out there trick-or-treating, be safe. Definitely dress up as your favorite superhero. You know what I mean? My kids came out as Batman and Robin this year. We'll see if my wife got a good picture. If they do, I'll put it up on the social medias, maybe into the community tab and stuff like that. But they were absolutely adorable. We had a lot of fun. And happy Halloween. We'll see you
Happy
next
Halloween.
week.
Team Candy
Happy
Corn.
Halloween, guys.
Get out.
Halloween.